We're up against it. We appreciate the time, my man. Fantastic insight and information. We're looking forward to talking to you down the road. Enjoy the draft.
Absolutely, man. You guys too. Anytime.
All right, there he goes. James Anderson, host of The Zone, Midday Sports Radio 810 in KC.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards. We head up until 2 o'clock. 4 hours, we've got you. A lot of stuff to get into. We will talk some football today. We will talk some baseball today as well with the Royals trying to salvage a game from the 3-game set with the Twins and try not to be swept and trying to score a run, really. That's mission number one, score. 17 straight innings against the Twins without scoring a run. Since that 2-run shot by Vinny Pasquantino on Monday night. Like, oh, hey, VP, 2-run shot. Royals take a 2-0 lead. They are absolutely on fire. They are a gravy train with biscuit wheels right now. And then, of course, they haven't scored since. So I think they are, I think the number I saw last night is they are 1 for the last 254 with runners in scoring position, just against the Twins alone.
Is that good?
It's got to be a record to have 254 men in scoring position in a 2-games stretch, but it is also not good to only have one hit in those 254 opportunities.
Just a disgusting stat.
It's ridiculous. It's almost like it's fake, but you just got to believe me that it's real. You got to believe me on that.
I do. You've never said anything that wasn't true.
Exactly. I do my research around here. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. 913-912-4810, or watch us on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, or just listen to us on the stream or 810WHB, 810 AM, 810WHB.com, stream, or on your radio. You can also do that. You can also terrestrially listen to us as well.
At this point, if anyone's not listening to this show, they are actively choosing to avoid it, which I get. I understand, but you have no excuses.
But if they weren't listening to the show, then they would not have heard all of the different ways they could hear or watch the show. So we're kind of just literally preaching to the audience.
Thanks for being here, whoever's here.
That's right.
We will never grow.
You. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. That's right, you.
Last listener.
Looking in the camera. You. Yeah, you. Thank you. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Very nice.
Oh, they just left.
Oh, darn it. So we'll talk with Jeff Montgomery coming up in the second segment. He is our Royals insider, Royals Hall of Famer from Valley Sports, presented by SandlotGoods.com. And we'll talk with Monty about, yes, a tough stretch the last couple of games, but there are certainly some positives to take away. You know, Brady Singer was phenomenal on Sunday against the Dodgers. Salvi, Daniel Lynch goes today. Salvi said that Daniel Lynch grew up by 2 years in the inning against the Dodgers in which he had bases loaded, nobody out, and a 3-0 count to the batter, and ends up getting 3 outs, doesn't give up a run. So we'll talk to Jeff Montgomery about some of those positives. And, of course, one Vinny Pasquantino, the Italian nightmare, Vincenzo Chenz. We'll talk about that as well. Chiefs pressers today in St. Joe. Eric Bieniemy, L'Jarius Sneed, Joshua Williams, and Harrison Butker. So they are going offensive coordinator, secondary, and backup kicker today with Harrison Butker. Chiefs pressers in the 11 o'clock hour. Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus will be our guest coming up at noon. Get his thoughts on the Chiefs and maybe even the division overall, the conference, but just a little preview of the season with Sam Monson from Pro Football Focus. And then Mick Shaffer will be with us, KSHB 41 Sports Director. He's brought to you by Kona Big Wave. Take a little break and single task tonight with the Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing Company. So let's get into the show because we'll talk with Monty here in just a little bit. There's a number of things that I want to talk about as it relates to the Royals, and we don't have a whole lot of time to do that. One, how good Vinny Pasquantino has been, and a connection with the Royals and what another team is doing, and they have been doing consistently, that the Royals are pretty close with. But are they going to do the same thing? We'll get into that. That is Michael Harris signing the long-term deal, the 8-year, $72 million contract with the Braves to keep him under team control until 2030. The 21-year-old who's played about 5 games he's 71 games in Major League Baseball. But he also played 150 games in the minor leagues before he was called up. So playing actual affiliated baseball for Michael Harris since he graduated high school and was drafted, he's at 205 games total. 8 years, $72 million contract for him, keeping him under team control until 2030. So we'll look at that and what the Braves have done as well. But I want to start off with Vinny Pasquantino. Let's go ahead and just hear from MLB Network yesterday. So Cliff Floyd was one of the guests, and it's interesting, the story that I read at MLB.com yesterday talking about Vinny Pasquantino and what he's been doing. I didn't realize how he found out that he was American League Player of the Week, and it was only because he was in the clubhouse and MLB Network was on, and he heard somebody fumbling his last name, not being able to get it right. And then he's like, what are they talking about? And then it announces that Vinny Pasquantino is the American League Player of the Week. That's pretty cool. Like, 1, awesome. 2, you know what? Keep doing this. They're going to know your last name. They're going to know exactly how to pronounce your last name. All right, so McCole Hardman's limping off the field, but he's walking, right?
Chris Jones already left practice. McCole Hardman now.
All right,
so we will keep an eye on that.
You know what?
But McDowell went from McDowell. Hardman went airborne and now is limping off. No Juju today. Waiting on any more info on Chris Jones.
It's me crumpling up all my Chiefs talk today. Just throw it away. All right, we will keep an eye on that.
Yes.
No information right now.
I'll let you know when we have any.
When we have information, we will immediately cut in with that information. We'll tell you about it. And we'll hear from the Chiefs today. Eric Bieniemy, I'm assuming, might have an update. Well, they'll certainly have an update.
Chris Jones rode off in the cart, but in the front seat
Well, that's different.
Early in practice. So we haven't gotten anything since the very start of that from him. But he left via cart, and Hardman went straight to the medical tent, something with his left leg.
Cool. Why don't they just cancel practice? They should make the entire plane out of the black box.
It really feels like the right move.
So let's talk about something good right now, and then we'll certainly get into Chiefs, because we can sit here and lament and worry and, wring our hands and
we will.
High blood pressure while, until we get word on Chris Jones and McCole Hardman. We can do that, but we're not going to, because we know that's all the information we have right now. So front seat of the cart, we know is different. It's better than back seat of the cart. And we'll see what happens with McCole Hardman. All right, so Vinny Pasquantino, MLB Network, Cliff Floyd on there, and talking about him being American League Player of the Week. And again, fun story. Speaking of something fun, him finding out that he was American League Player of the Week. But here is MLB Network, and they are discussing what they're seeing from Vinny Pasquantino. And this is a longer segment. It's about 3 minutes or so, this clip. But it's really interesting in Cliff Floyd talking about what Pasquantino is doing right now that is making him a, some would say, nightmare for other pitchers.
But back, Cliff, to Vinny P. This guy's reached base safely in 14 of his last 28 plate appearances. And you love this guy. I mean, tell the world why you love him.
You know why? Because there was a book on him, I feel like, and he exploited it. He said, look, y'all think I can't hit the ball down and in. And I haven't met one lefty, including myself, because he reminds me of me, on that ball down and in.
Well, now we know why he loves him.
Oh, I love him because, look, when you throw a lefty a ball down and in, he should destroy it, and his hands come through that zone better than any lefty I've seen in a long time. And the reason I like this is because this is why I'm going to tell you why you can throw the book away, D, right? Because you're talking about, look what a target is, boom. 93 up and in, that ball's up there, and but people don't think they're going to get a ball. That's out there where they're trying to get some drinks and chill. But look at the hands. Look at how he gets on his backside and allows himself to clear those hits. Hands are down. Did they get up early? So yeah, everything like about his approach, it has a little toe tap. But look where the hands are when he gets ready to attack. So that ball down in. I'm talking a lot, but keep watching where the ball is at. Look where, again, boom. This Dylan Cease, you cannot get him out. I don't care if you throw fastball, slider, anything, another one, down and in. So you're saying, well, is he going to hit anything in left field? Well, until you throw him away, we don't know. He's going to keep attacking the way he is. But I like where his hands are when he gets ready to attack. And look where the hand, how he pulls them in. He's a big dude. There was nothing left for him to prove in Omaha. But you had a comp when we talked earlier. You said Travis Hafner. Look at this. Boom. You couldn't do that to Travis back in the day either. The hands were so big, they're so strong, and I think it's because guys are big, they think we get tied up. When we talk about hands moving rhythm, he had rhythm, and he would explode through with those quick hands, Travis, and he didn't hit a lot of balls to left field, but look at this comparison. I mean, is that spot on or what?
Wow.
That's
wow.
Scary, right? Let's say it again, when you talk about the hands up, ball in, and then all you worry about is if you keep it fair. But I think he has now figured it out. My only thing is, and you know what it is, make an adjustment to the adjustment.
Right.
That's the lead. You're 24. I just showed
Yeah,
the
they're
world
going to
how
start
good you
spinning
are.
him and off speed. He won't get many pitches. Once
Well,
they showed he can hit that fastball in.
We had the fastball in. We had 96, 97. Then we had a couple sliders down in the zone. It's the pitch where we don't have our plate out here, that the catcher starts moving over here, and now you're saying, well, what do you do? Right. See, me personally, I moved up on the plate. I said, well, that's going to be down the middle for me. Now, you can try to get in, and all the adjustments I made with my feet, if you can get my feet in this, is I just open that up a little bit, and then I clear my hands.
Flip that way so people can see
right?
it more.
So you're thinking to yourself, you're going, okay, well, now if I have to move over and make the adjustment, I don't really want to hit the ball left field. Just wasn't my forte. It just wasn't in my DNA to do it.
Right.
So I said, well, I'm going to put that plate, and I'm going to move. If you're going to move it over on me,
I'm coming with you.
I'm coming with you,
Okay.
right? So now you're coming in even further. So all I did was I got up there, and I just moved close to the plate. And D-Row always go, well, that's where you always go all the time. I go, well, that's my strength was.
Right.
My weakness was I had to go down the cage and work on that. My strength was if I open my foot up a little bit, guess what? Now I was clear.
Yeah, you weren't worried about getting beat in
Never.
at all. Yep.
I would kill some fans.
I'm not going to get beat inside. I might kill some fans, but you're not going to beat me inside. They were making the comparison to Travis Hafner, which, by the way, credit to my brother first and foremost. You know, on Sunday we were out at the game at the Dodgers game, and he's like, you know, he compared Vinny Pasquantino to Prunk, to Travis Hafner, and just kind of the swing and how he runs. So that's the first comparison I heard to a Hafner, and we'll see if he's that. They're talking about the swing and things like that. Here's where I will bring the added element of the adjustment to the adjustment, and that is when you hear Cliff Floyd say, okay, go the other way, go to left field. What's he going to do when teams are attacking him away? Cliff Floyd said, I just scooted closer to the plate. Well, that's just showing highlights of Vinny Pasquantino and not watching every game, because the last 25 hits. So Vinny Pasquantino, since in his last 20 games, he has 25 hits. 9 of those have been to left field. 9 of those. He's even got a bunt. Okay, he tried to bunt last night, didn't get it down. Then he went to left field. So more than a third of his hits, while he's been OPSing at over 1,000, more than a third have been to strictly left field. I'm not talking about left side of second base, but to left field. He's got 16 of the 25 hits to center field and right field. A third of his hits have been to left field. You keep doing that, yeah, you're going to break the shift that's there for Vinny Pasquantino defensively. So it's awesome to hear them talk about, and certainly you can dream about, wow, is he Travis Hafner, a guy like that? Maybe he is, maybe he's not, maybe he's just short, maybe this is an awesome run so far for Vinny Pasquantino. But going to left field isn't an issue to where can he do that now? Because he's proving that he can do that now. And also, when you're up there and the pitch is an inch off the plate, he's taking that and taking a walk. And in these 20 games, he would be pacing over the course of the season for 80, 85 walks in a season, which would put him in the top 10 of seasons all time with the Royals. Update on Mecole Hardman.
He has been carted up the hill, also sitting in the front seat like Chris Jones was earlier. In fact, Todd Lebo just tweeted out the video if you want to see that, and retweeting that from the 810 account. McCole Hardman carted up the hill not terribly long after Chris Jones was carted up the hill. His was about 10 minutes into practice. Hardman later into the day. No Juju Smith-Schuster already for practice today. No James Winchester. So right now Matt Derrick says Travis Kelce is long snapping for special teams drills. And just a whole lot going on right now out there in St. Joe.
Whole lot not good. So
that concludes Joshua Brisco, The Zone, Sports Radio 810, WHB. That concluded my report.
Oh, I thought it concluded the show. Like, well, we're just done.
No,
we're just
there's
done.
music for that.
Let's see. Can Seren start 3 hours and 40 minutes earlier?
No, I just trying to
Probably.
signal that was the end of the information that I had.
Great.
WHB.
So here's some fun and some the sort of
bad injury news from training camp.
Breakfast in your throat from what you already ate. Here's the fun, and here's the getting sick. Vinny Pasquantino, hey, that's fun. See what he's doing, and he's going the opposite way. But Hardman and Chris Jones have both ridden the cart up the hill in the front seat. But still, they have left practice, and they have not walked to leave practice. Other report is that when McCole Hardman went to the injury tent, when he came out before he got on the cart, Mahomes and Andy Reid went up and had a conversation with him. But, I mean, it wasn't like the whole team went up there and talked with him as he was riding off. It was Mahomes, Andy Reid, and then, I don't know, we'll see. We'll hear from Eric Reid. And MVS went up there and talked with him as well. So, I mean, I would expect that, right? Of like, hey, what's wrong? What's the deal? Something like that. I want video of that conversation. I need to see.
I'll let you know when I have it.
I need to see facial expressions. I need to see body language. I got to see it all. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
What do you think of Greinke with the Chiefs? You like the deal, you like the signing, and what he can bring.
Can't get football out of his mind.
I think personally,
What did I say?
I think that Greinke should pitch for the Royals,
Did I say the
even
Chiefs?
though the Chiefs have a hole in their secondary. I think we should let him stay there.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. We are talking with Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider with us here in the Zone, presented by Sandlot Goods, sandlotgoods.com, Kansas City's hat manufacturer. Monty, welcome into the show, sir. How are you today?
Doing good, Jason. Probably be doing later on if this Royals team finds a way to get some runs here in Minnesota.
Yeah, that would be nice. Hopefully they can salvage the three-game series and get one today and not get swept. But the offense, it seems like, opportunities are there, just not taking advantage of opportunities. One of those things that just happens throughout the season that we're seeing with this team, that they are one of what feels like 100 with runners in scoring position in these last two games.
Yeah, it's, these cycles, I guess, seem like they're always very contagious. I mean, I watched some of the Yankees game the last couple games, and Yankees are even going through the same thing. Everybody goes through it. It seems like, unfortunately, we've gone through it a little more often than some of the other ball clubs, but especially with the young hitters, it's a good experience for them to be in those situations, but got to find a way to come through. And really, other than Vinny Pasquantino, seems like everybody's seeing to have their struggles right now.
Yeah, this team is 1-4 in their last 5 games. They took back-to-back 4-game series, 3 of 4 from the Red Sox and the White Sox, and then that game on Sunday against the Dodgers, which was pretty awesome with Brady Singer, the way that he played, and Pasquantino in his night, and Salvi with the double as well. So they're 1-4 after what was a really awesome run for this team. Is it, what you're saying, it's just the offense in this go-around? Because they have given up 13 and 9 and 8, so I guess it's not all just the offense. But it feels like, Monty, the starting pitching has been giving them an opportunity to win. The bats haven't necessarily come through. And then last night and, at certain times, the bullpen has also, failed in some of these games that got out of hand.
Yeah, I think if you're going to really look at one real bright spot to me, I'm going to look at starting pitching, just the way that consistently they're going out there and either pitching well, giving a quality start or near a quality start, 5+, 6 innings, run or two, maybe 3 runs given up. So I think the starting pitching's been a real bright spot. And we've had kind of those, those cycles or those games where, and some of those games get some pretty good starting pitching. Pitchers like Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech and some of the top pitchers in our division, especially, that we're going to see between now and the end of the season a whole lot. So you just have to find a way to be a little more consistent offensively. And there have been a lot of young players. I mean, I look at the lineup every day. There's at least 5 and sometimes 6, and one day 7 rookie players in that lineup. So I don't think you're going to expect to put double-digit runs on the board, but just hopefully situational hitter comes around a little bit, and you get in those situations where you get a couple guys on, start an inning out, and then find a way to push at least 1, maybe 2 runs across the plate.
Well, and right now, I mean, you mentioned that 5, 6, sometimes 7, rookies, young guys in a lineup, and then you see that it's Singer or Bubic or Lynch out there on the mound as well. Not a Keller or a Greinke, and you can certainly see what the Royals see in the future. But that also, adds to it. It's like, Bubic is out there and he's turned the corner since he was called back up. We talked last week in the connection there that you said, look at what we're saying. Singer, since he was called back up. Bubic, since he was called back up. Daniel Lynch had to deal with the blister and the cut on his finger. But, he goes today in his last 3 outings since he came back from that. It's been, 16 and a third innings, 4 earned runs, and then he's got 16 strikeouts and 4 walks. So hopefully this is Daniel Lynch then sort of turning the corner with the Bubic and the Singer as well. Salvi said on, Friday or Saturday, when Daniel Lynch had bases loaded, nobody out, and a 3-0 count. I mean, at that point, it's disaster, right? Bases loaded, nobody out, 3-0 count. There's going to be a run, a 2, 3. If you got out of there with like 2 or 3 runs, you'd be like, okay, we kind of escaped the jam at that point because you're about to walk a run in and still have bases loaded and nobody out. Salvi said he grew up by a couple of years in that inning. You saw Daniel Lynch, the emotion that he let out in that inning. What do you think that does for him? Those 3 at-bats, 3-0, down 3-0, bases loaded, nobody out, those 3 at-bats and those 3 outs, what do you think that does for Daniel Lynch?
Well, I think what happens is when you experience something like that and you have success, it just gives you confidence that you can do it again. And I think that's just one of those stepping stones that you experience along the way. And the more times you advance and more times you go in the right direction in those situations, the better off you're going to be. I mean, take a veteran pitcher, whether it be Zach Greinke's a good example. His game against the White Sox, he gave up 9 hits with no runs last night. 9 hits and 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run. I mean, he had a lot of traffic out there, but he's able to work through it. But the more veteran pitchers understand that that's going to happen, you're going to have some innings like that. But just don't give up, because you just never know when they're going to hit a line drive at somebody. You're going to get a double play. Something's going to happen that's going to help get you out of that. And I think so many times pitchers think they've got to do everything themselves. And sometimes the hitters will do a little bit of the work for you. If you just make a good quality pitch, let the hitter get himself out at times. You don't have to get every hitter out. So it's just a real good experience for Daniel Lynch to have that success in that situation against that lineup.
Visiting with Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, and Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider, presented by Sandlot Goods. I want to talk about Vinny Pasquantino because he has just been something else over the last 20 games. In August, he's been amazing, and he was the player of the week, and he might be player of the month if he continues doing what he's doing. What's going on with Vinny Pasquantino? Is it, those hard hits are finally, falling into play, and he's, baseball is rewarding him now with continually hitting the ball hard? Something different you're seeing from Vinny Pasquantino? Because, since July 25th, the man is OPSing over 1,000.
Yeah, I think in summer, yes, he's just being rewarded for the hard hit balls, and that's going to happen. He was hitting a lot of line drives at people. Now he's getting a little bit of lift. He's hitting the ball out of the ballpark with more consistency, more frequency. But I've talked to a number of people. In fact, here in Minnesota, just yesterday, I had a chance to sit in an area where there were 3 scouts from other teams, and these were all advanced scouts for other teams, and they were just raving about Vinny Pasquantino, about the way he handles everything at the plate, the way he is so selective. He takes walks. He doesn't strike out. They were just raving about Vinny Pasquantino. In fact, they were talking about a lot of our young players. Love Nate Eaton in the outfield. They love Michael Massey at second base. I mean, they really were talking about our players. You're talking about all the young players that we had in the lineup over the last several games, and those pitchers go along with it. And when you hear scouts from other teams giving such praises to our players, and really these players we're going to see likely for a long time to come in Royals uniforms, I think it gives you a little hope and a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Visiting
with Jeff Montgomery, Bally Sports, and Royals Hall of Famer. One of the things, too, Major League Baseball, MLB Network had a segment about Vinny Pasquantino last night being the American League Player of the Week. And Cliff Floyd said, he reminds me of myself a little bit. Then he compared him to Travis Hafner, which is interesting. In the previous segment, I mentioned that, my brother on Sunday, we were out at the game, and he's like, man, there's some Travis Hafner there, that pronk. Maybe it's the way he runs or whatever in the left-handed swing. But regardless, Cliff Floyd made that comparison. Whether that's a comp or not, we can get into all of that stuff, Monty. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up is Cliff Floyd had said, the next evolution for Vinny Pasquantino is, can he adjust and go the other way? Can he adjust and go to left field? And I think that's missing the story with Vinny Pasquantino, because in this run where he's OPSing at over 1,000, Monty, since July 25th, he's had 25 hits. 9 of those have gone to left field. So he's got 9 hits to left field and 16 to either center field or right. That's just left field specifically. That's not even, center field, left field, up the middle, left field. So it ain't 50-50, but he's also got a bunt hit, a double down the left field line. I don't think the issue is that Vinny Pasquantino can't go the other way.
No, I don't think so either. I think a lot of that's kind of maybe highlighted a lot when you have all those shifts and you hit so many hard balls into the shift and, nothing to show for it. A hard hit ball, but, that doesn't do a whole lot for you other than that you had a good at bat where you hit the ball hard. Last night he hit a ball they were giving him the left side. They were giving it to him, and he attempted to foul it off, and then he slashed the ball to left field. It was just such an easy stroke for him, and basically kind of taking what they give you, and that's exactly what he did. You're talking about comparables with Vinny Pasquantino. When I first met Vinny, Joe Goldberg and I had a chance to visit with him a little bit, and he was talking about the fact that Joey Votto is a player that he really styles his play after a lot. A guy that has some power, but he'll take his walks. He doesn't strike out. Puts together a really good plate appearance every time he gets in that batter's box.
Well, I mean, that guy has over 100 walks a year, it seems like, does Joey Votto. I mean, he led the league in walks, I think, 5 or 6 times. So certainly you would take that, which, it's interesting, taking the walk and Votto having a little bit of power. He's hit almost 40 home runs a couple of times, and last year he hit, 36 home runs he may have gotten to 100 walks last year too. But that sort of player, have the Royals ever had a guy that's willing to take 100 walks and can also hit 35, 36 home runs? I mean, in a season? I mean, I know that Balboni was the record holder for so long, but it seems like the guys in Royals history that have, taken their walks and had great plate discipline are, 15 to 25 home run hitters.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason Carlos Santana was signed a few years ago, was to be that type of player. And, he very well may have been that type of player by the time the season ended, after, the way he started so slow. But, he's turned things on now that he's over in Seattle. But, the Royals have not had a lot of guys like that. They have not had a lot of those plate discipline type guys, especially guys that have the ability to hit the ball in the ballpark.
Visiting with Jeff Montgomery, a couple more real quick for you, Monty. Bobby Witt, he's going through his struggles right now. I heard Alec Lewis say yesterday that, there may be he just may be tired or exhausted, that, since April 7th, he's been, playing what feels like, every day, because, he's played in 107 games so far this year, has Bobby Witt. And, he played in 124 last year. But that 124 games, Monty, was from May 4th to October 3rd. He played in 124. He's gone from, early April to mid-August, and he's already played 107. As a rookie, as a guy that at the major league level, shortstop, third base, batting second, batting third, doing all those things, can it become just exhausting to where maybe there is a wall that he might have hit that, a couple of days off, maybe even back-to-back days off might do him some good, or just a slump and he'll work out of it?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, he obviously is a player who utilizes speed to a great deal. He's a guy that uses his legs a lot, and his position requires a lot of activity if he's playing, especially playing at shortstop. So it could be just that time. And, we've played so many games in a short period of time, and once we get through another stretch here, we'll start having some off days. The last month of the season, it might help them a lot. But, that first full season of Major Leagues, I don't care what position you play, it's a little bit different because you're taking your body into that territory you've never been before as far as the endurance test is. And we know certainly is more of a marathon than a sprint when you're playing 6 months almost every day. So we'll see how it plays out. But he seems he seems good with regards to his attitude and the way he goes about his business. He's out there having fun. He's working hard. The thing that maybe shows up a little bit is those routine balls that he doesn't make a play on, like you expect him to do. And he's made so many great plays. You think those routine plays like he missed on last night are just, they're automatic. But unfortunately, they're not. You have to be on top of your game. You have to be mentally in there as well as physically to make those plays every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the optimism around this Royals team is that, MJ Melendez got hot for a while, and you see that he could carry a team. Vinny Pasquantino, what he's done since July 25th has been awesome. Massey has, a 7-8 game hitting streak. And the best of the bunch is, Bobby Witt, expected to be the best, and he hasn't really been playing all that well as of late, both in the field and at the plate. And that's a guy that, has all, every tool in the toolbox. So we'll see what he ends up doing and turning this thing around. Jeff Montgomery, Valley Sports, Royals Hall of Famer, Royals Insider, presented by Sandlot Goods. Monty, I appreciate it, sir. Have a good call today, and we will talk next week.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Appreciate having me on.
All right, there's Jeff Montgomery, Valley Sports. It's presented by Sandlot Goods, Kansas City's hat manufacturer, sandlotgoods.com. And, yes, we saw that hot streak from MJ Melendez. We know what Bobby Witt can do. He's had his struggles right now. Maybe it is him just being tired. And if that's the case, then, it's on the coaching staff and those around to, speak up for him, because he's not going to say, hey, Skip, let me get a few days off, man. I'm just dog tired, trying to do extra reps, getting there early, doing all the infield work, shortstop, third base, all of that stuff, and trying to work through the slump, and maybe just a day or two off. And I know that Mike Matheny is trying to win every single game and all of that stuff, and maybe this is part of the maturation process and development as well. You know what? You're just going to have to break through that wall. You're going to hit the wall, but you got to break through it sometimes, and it's on you. But he's a young dude who just turned 22 years old, so he's trying to work through it. And again, you're talking about a limited amount of time with so many games in that combination. Again, last year he played, it's not like 107 games, he's never played more than 50. No, he played 124 last year, but again, that was from May 4th to October 3rd that he played 124. I mean, it's August 17th, and he's 17 games away from playing what he did, last year. And at the major league level, and playing a shortstop and a third base, and again, being a guy that is in the heart of that lineup. So, maybe there is just a mental exhaustion. I don't know that it's a muscle exhaustion because he's stealing bases and running, but what Monty said, I think, is a good point about some of those routine plays that we're seeing him just simply not make. And, last night again, that's a play that Bobby Witt makes. He makes some spectacular plays, and I think he makes that play last night, but, he didn't. And it happens, and it cost the Royals. So he's obviously got to turn some things around. But Vinny Pasquantino has just been unbelievable. And last night, Monty mentioned he tried to bunt. The bunt didn't get down fair. And then he just went the other way anyway. Just took it to left field. And again, since July 25th, Vinny Pasquantino has 25 hits. 9 of those have gone specifically to left field. Not even to center, to left field. 16 to center or right, 9 to left field. It ain't Vinny Pasquantino, can he learn to go the other way? No, he's doing that. And that's what's starting to make him more dangerous is you do that more often, you're going to knock that shift out. You're going to make them. It's one of the things that people have said, why don't you just go the other way? Why don't you just bunt? Vinny Pasquantino's going, yeah, okay. No, I will. I will do that. Keep shifting because you're giving me all this space over here, all this land to be able to – I've been hitting the ball hard right at, line drives at guys. Well, now I don't have to hit it as hard going to left field. It depends on where they're pitching me. And if they're afraid to pitch me down and in, they're afraid to pitch me inside because my hands are quick and I can turn on the baseball and drive it, 430 to right field or right center, well, then they're going to go away. That's fine. I'll go away as well. I'll take it away. And if you're going to miss the strike zone, well, I'm going to spit on the pitch and sit here and take another ball. And I'll take my walk like he did last night. It's just a dangerous guy right now that I'm not sure what the pitchers are doing or going to do against him while he's playing like this. So we'll see the adjustment to the adjustment to the adjustment and back and forth and what Vinny P can do. We'll continue rolling along as the Royals try to salvage one game of the 3-game set against the Twins and try to score some runs since that Vinny Pasquantino 2-run home run in the first inning on Monday night. We'll see if they can score today. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs. We will hear from Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, and Mick Shaffer as well. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
It would have been
Just killed a spider that was crawling on the table here.
Take that, spider. Huh? Yeah. In your face. Punk.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so we'll head to St. Joe in the next hour. Hear from the Chiefs, including Eric Bieniemy, L'Jarius Sneed, Joshua Williams, and Harrison Butker today. News out of training camp if you're just joining us. It's not good, but there's still an unknown as to what the extent is. Both Chris Jones and Mecole Hardman in the front seat carted up the hill from practice. Chris Jones, before team practice took place, it was individual drills they were going on, and he rode the cart in the front seat up the hill, hasn't returned. Mecole Hardman was jumping for a catch in the end zone and landed awkwardly, limped to the tent, came out of the tent, got in the cart in the front seat, and rode up the hill. We'll see what updates there might be after practice today. Juju not there, and then Mecole Hardman leaving, Chris Jones leaving. So not good news. Don't know the extent. At least there's a sliver of positivity in the fact that they weren't sitting in the back. If there was something major, I don't think they'd be sitting in the front with their knee bent and just sort of riding that way. It would be, let's stabilize this thing right now. Let's not move it around anymore. Let's get an MRI, something like that, and make sure we know the extent of this.
Particularly with Hardman's being evidently a left leg issue. If you haven't been to training camp or you're just seeing on Twitter what some of the aggregated reports have been, there's a major difference between being carted off, which means, in my mind, being scooped up by a trainer and gurneyed over to the cart and then running back up the hill that way. In St. Joe, if you haven't been, there is a pretty substantial hill between where they walk from the facilities down to the practice fields. Guys get carted up that hill in the front seat of a cart after doing media most of the time. The whole group will walk up there.
Yeah.
But when Chris Jones talks, he usually gets in the cart and then rides the cart up the hill back to the facilities if they're trying to just keep things speedy. So that is by no means... They weren't amputating Mecole Hardman's leg in the red zone. Hopefully things there should be stable.
That would be weird if they did.
That would be bad. Also, Mike Matheny says Brad Keller is moving to the bullpen. Tomorrow's starter, now TBD.
Yeah,
Kind of an interesting move for mid-August.
Well, I mean, who was, by the way, real quick on training camp, who was the player yesterday that there was reports of, hey, he left practice, was it like Bud Dupree or something? He left practice, and then he tweeted after practice was over, I had to pee. And that was it. Now, Chris Jones has not returned to practice. He returned to practice, that guy.
Maybe Chris Jones
Well, there's a lot of pee that might be
had a lot to work through. I don't know.
mean, it's not as easy in and out, maybe. Brad Keller, in his 21 games as a reliever when he started with the Royals, a 2 ERA in 22 innings. But he is now moving to the bullpen, so I'm good with it. More Zone next.
Come check out the...
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
What how you guys say it politely? I want to take a tinkle. A tinkle? Yeah. I went to take a tinkle. It came back. Yeah. That's it. That's polite, right? Tinkle is polite. Yeah. Both games. I went to take a tinkle and went back.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm a little thrown off my game here.
I wasn't even going to ask him to break if we were going to talk about this. I'm glad we are.
Well, we don't need to talk much about it, okay?
Sure.
We've got plenty to talk about with, Jones and Hardman and Brad Keller moving to the bullpen and DeMarcus Robinson being cut by the Raiders.
Much more to come.
Yesterday afternoon. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can get into and talk about. Michael Harris signed by the Braves long-term, 8 years, $72 million, which goes right in line with Austin Riley in the 10-year contract they gave him, and Ronald Acuna, the 8-year contract, and Ozzie Albies, the 7-year contract.
Hoping they can erect a statue for those guys.
That's exactly
soon.
right. So they are hoping that will be the case. So we were talking about whatever it was yesterday or the day before that a reporter was like, this player just left practice, and he was gone, and then they said he's now returned to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So everything was fine. And he then quote tweeted and said, yeah, I had to pee. And then that gained traction, and everybody was laughing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, see? It wasn't that big of a deal. So sometimes guys just have to go pee. I believe the boy said he had to go pee. Since I was not hungry but thirsty, and they was free, I must have drank myself 15 Gatorades.
No idea.
Yep, not even close. No recognition whatsoever.
I got to go pee.
Nope.
I believe the boy said he had to go pee.
Why did Bill Clinton say that?
That would be from Forrest Gump.
Oh, that makes sense.
I've seen bits of it.
Yeah, me too.
Forrest Gump.
Speaking of seeing bits.
Forrest Gump, that would be the case. So we were talking about whoever the defensive player was yesterday. I thought it was Bud Dupree or something like that. So for whatever reason, that's what came to my mind. So then I Twitter search Dupree. Well, first of all, I Twitter searched practice training camp had to pee. Thought, that would come up first.
Sure.
Nothing?
Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't work.
No, things came up.
Oh.
But it was not a tweet. It's more video stuff. And then you're like, exit. Oh, my God. What is wrong with people? What in the heck, man? So I'm like, all right, that clearly is not the route I'm going to take. I'm not going to include pee in the tweet.
Oh, no.
So I just put Dupree because I thought it was Bud Dupree. So I put Dupree. Apparently, there is someone who works in movies that would not be appropriate for anything radio or school or anything like that. That is a Twitter handle. Apparently, do not search on Twitter
anything.
Dupree.
No. One step further, Jason. Don't search anything on Twitter ever. There is an old AES liner that I think was from the ESPN Kansas City days. Here's just searching for it.
October of 2017 is when this was first said.
So this is something that
this is the whole thing.
I have been ahead of the curve on one particular issue that I feel like you have learned a very harsh lesson on today.
I mean, that was I search a lot on Twitter.
Sure.
Do a lot of searching. That has never happened. Literally never happened to me before, and it happened in a span of 2.5 minutes. So
is that a bragging or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, patting myself on the back for that one, of course. Yeah.
I also think a lot of times it's because I will click on Twitter trends for things that I don't immediately recognize to figure out, hey, like what's going on here? Why is this a trending thing? Sometimes it's, entertainment world, video games, sports, news, whatever.
Right.
And then I'll just kind of scroll through that with the highlighted word for some period of time until I feel like I have a grip on whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah.
And there is just always a point in periods. I don't know if you're good to where I can show my bona fides here, which is not.
No, don't show that.
No, I said I enunciated very importantly. This is from 2017. So it's, again, apparently I've been on the right side of history on this one.
Like, you will accidentally find nudity on the internet. That happens like, I don't know, once every 3 times they open a tab.
Weird shirt, lobster shorts.
Right, yes.
Space hoodie.
Paxson.com.
Naked body.
That's me right there.
That sounds like Rudy.
That's me, baby.
Can you play it again, just the beginning?
Play it again.
It's like you will accidentally find nudity on the internet.
That's Rudy.
That happens.
I don't know what to tell you.
That sounds like Rudy.
That's way too happy to be Rudy.
How did you go from
too much
Rudy
energy
to Brisco? You sounded much different back then.
It's been a long time, man. These
Maybe
radio miles wear on the tires, and 5 years later, you sound different when you're talking about finding nudity on the internet by accident.
I mean, what are you, a smoker?
I've been chewing cigarettes since then.
My voice has advanced over the years.
I remember accidentally finding nudity on the internet for the first time. I was looking for a fantasy football logo at age like 13. And you go far enough down Google Images, you search anything, there will eventually be nudity on the internet. And today I got to watch Jason do that without having to see his screen, which was really fabulous. I was worried that you had seen like a beheading or something because of your reaction.
But why is that on Twitter? Like,
have you not been on the internet before, Jason?
It's just the internet. Yeah, I mean, it's just I just think that I don't think any corner of the internet is is untouched at this point. You have to search like Patrick Mahomes 3rd and 4, 12 minutes left in the first quarter. Otherwise, eventually you're going to get
if you
somebody.
don't include that 12 minutes thing, something else is going to pop up.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing. I then put Bud Dupree with quotations around it.
Quote marks are huge.
Yeah. And then just went ahead and clicked on his Twitter handle because whoever it was tweeted it out that, hey, I had to go pee. It was not Bud Dupree. So all of that was wasted.
Have we found out who it was?
I haven't yet. I haven't. And I'm not going to keep searching for it. I'm done with the searching. The search engine has been canceled for today. Okay?
Beards just I know my computer now is facing the window behind me, but just make sure my screen stays off Twitch for a second. I'm going to put on a miner's helmet, M-I-N-E-R, and with like a lamp on the front, and I'm gonna start digging around Google to figure out if I can tell. Was that this year? Did this definitely happen?
It's like yesterday.
Okay, all right.
It was like yesterday. It was all over the internet. It was people laughing and having fun with the fact that, this reporter had said, this player has just left practice. And then like 10 minutes later was like, okay, he's now returned to practice and is taking part in drills again. And then after practice, he tweeted and said, yeah, I had to go pee. That's all that happened, man. So sometimes those things can take place, but obviously that is not the case.
I'm really
with Chris
afraid
Jones. It's not. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's okay. Maybe somebody will text in, not a link to a tweet, but just text in if they remember.
If you texted a link, we're not clicking it today.
Yes, Matthew Judon. Thank you, texter.
There's Matthew Judon.
Matthew Judon.
Okay.
Matthew Judon. Not Bud Dupree.
Hey, here it is. Matthew Judon's reason for briefly leaving practice will make you chuckle.
Yeah, I had a chuckle because he had to take a tinkle like Giannis. But then
he said he tweeted the phrase "I took a pee."
Oh,
see if you remember the exact phrase, you can put quotes. I still wouldn't Google that. I'm not going to be searching the word "pee" on Twitter for any reason whatsoever. Now.
I know. I put training camp and practice, and I mean, how did just random things like that, which you can imagine what was happening on the search? How does it happen with that? Why is training camp and practice eliminated from that? Why wouldn't they include those things? And why would the things that popped up first be the most popular things that people are searching for? Also, the hell are you doing putting that on Twitter?
Your last question is one I don't have an answer for. Why is this on Twitter is a wonderful question.
I mean, because. That's why.
Right, because it is the internet.
Because.
I'm kind of feeling like Twitter has less of a bot problem and more of a butt problem on some of these things that are being tweeted out.
Pretty good. I like that one.
I just cannot believe what just happened.
The issue there is that for years, for now decades of the internet, people have been, previously for pre-internet, I suppose, but for decades now, people have been like, I wonder if there's a blank for this thing that I would be into. Now you could literally Google It's all of a sudden, hey, training for our camping trip. Here's my butt. It's like, well, that's not.
We have a
bud wrong.
We have a returner. When I had the interview, I did the interview with Eddie Kinnison a couple of years ago during COVID times. We were doing all of the Where Are They Nows, and we had tons of interviews of different, former players, local, whether it's Chiefs, Royals, professional, or college. And so we talked with Eddie Kinnison, and we talked to him about that Denver Broncos game in which he said, "I'm going to put something on they ass." And we're done with the interview. We come back, we're talking about it, and I was trying to look up, what was the exact quote and everything. And Corey then has the fun liner that says, so if you Google search that, it's not those things. The only thing that comes up are people that have put something in, not on.
1 in a million, Doc. 1 in a million.
So don't Google search that. But that was like 2 years ago.
Don't search anything ever. That's the new rule. Hi, welcome to the internet. New and improved.
I
Never
wasn't
search
Googling.
anything.
It was on Twitter. Why would that be on Twitter?
I seriously, within the last 6 months or something, I've run into that exact thing happening on Twitter. The horn just blew. Google that, Jason. Google
horn blue.
Google horn blue.
No.
Search horn blue on Twitter.
No,
I legitimately.
Because there's going to be some dude named Horn. And you can add in the next. It's not happening.
I seriously.
I put in Dupree. That's it. Why couldn't it have been you, me, and Dupree? If Bud Dupree wasn't going to come up, at least let it be somebody else. Why is the first thing that comes up
I bailed before
that?
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you. I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that was on your screen.
I can't believe it searched like that. Wow.
And you went, wow. I didn't expect to see that at 10:45 a.m. Wow. I'm just telling you that I have experienced that exact phenomenon maybe half a dozen times in the last 6 months or so, and it has fundamentally changed how I use Twitter.
I'm taken aback. I just didn't expect. The last hour of my life, I have been changed forever. Part of that is that an hour ago,
Great conversation with Monty.
Very rarely now will I search anything on Twitter without quotations of specifically what I'm looking for.
Oh, hey, I got a McCole Hardman update.
Okay, thank you. That was the other thing is that McCole Hardman and Chris Jones left practice early. That was an hour ago, so that's where everything has changed. What's the update?
10 seconds ago, Ian Rappaport says Chiefs wide receiver McCole Hardman, who exited practice early today, is being evaluated for a groin injury, source said.
Oh, okay.
The severity is unclear, but Hardman being able to walk off the field before jumping on a cart to head into the building was a good sign.
Oh, good. A groin? We're good.
Groin issues all around the zone right now.
He's got 3 in it. Well, typically the groin issue was Chris Jones. I thought that might have been. Luckily, it's not. That could keep him out for a year if he's got a groin injury with Chris Jones. That's a lot to injure. So
Google
McCole.
Google
I'm
pulled
not
groin.
going to do that.
Look up pulled groin on
No.
Twitter.
We've seen enough of Chris Jones when he ran the 40. Okay, we've seen that. But good to know. McCole Hardman, groin injury, not leg injury.
Yes, and certainly not knee.
But for Chris Jones, that would be synonymous.
Sure, exactly.
He's got a leg injury. No, it's a groin.
Yeah.
But Chris Jones also left practice early.
We don't have anything on him yet.
Not participating in any of the team stuff. It was individual drills. 10 minutes into practice, individual drills. Chris Jones left in the front seat of the cart, just as McCole Hardman left in the front seat of the cart. So that happened like an hour ago when all that came out, and it changed really just the overall tenor of the show because, knock on wood, we had talked about how there hadn't been drama at training camp. Orlando Brown showed up much earlier than a lot of people thought. I was probably the most optimistic on how soon Orlando Brown would be into training camp, and it was earlier than I thought. I thought it would have been this week that he showed up.
James Palmer also now says initial thought is that it's not serious on McCole Hardman, but tests to come per source. So the Chiefs we're not going to see McCole Hardman on Saturday if I had to guess. I don't need to see McCole Hardman on Saturday. I don't need to see Chris Jones. I don't really need to see Patrick Mahomes on Saturday, if I'm being honest. But it sounds like the Chiefs are probably going to slow roll this one and get all the info. But right now, the early reports are pretty good.
25 days before they play the Cardinals. I don't need to
in
see
24.
Yeah. Don't need to see McCole Hardman practice the week. He knows the offense. Okay, this is year 4 for McCole Hardman. It ain't Sky Moore. It ain't Juju. It ain't MVS. So McCole, if you're saying he jumped up, landed awkwardly, and was limping, and it looked like a left leg, and then he was carted off. Now we know now that it was the front seat, but if you just hear that,
yes,
leaped for the football, landed awkwardly, limped to the tent, carted off, left leg. That's worrisome and scary. But then you hear it's a groin injury. It's not positive. It's not where, oh, thank God McCole Hardman hurt his groin. All right. Like, I didn't wake up this morning and say, I hope McCole Hardman hurts a groin today. But if you gave me the choice of a leg injury or McCole Hardman's groin, I'll take McCole Hardman's groin.
Just search Twitter for it.
That's too easy.
I'm not going to search Twitter for that.
Do you feel like that one was? He realized that he had already gotten one cut for you there, Beards, and so the second one you felt like he was going for on purpose, so it didn't really land. I would like for you to save it regardless.
I'm still going to take it out of context. There's no worry about that.
All right, good.
Yeah, no, I was sitting at the blackjack table. I split the cards.
Yeah,
I was playing 2 hands at once on that one. Yeah.
Hey, that's another one. Let me give you one quick note on roster construction stuff here, just in case people are wondering.
Ted is on his way. Let's listen in. Can we listen in to Ted Cruz on injuries? Todd said Ted is on his way up. He's the one that gives the injuries, Ted Cruz. So if we can hear him, that would be great. Sometimes
I would just pot him up now, and if he can interrupt us.
You want to pot him up?
Pot him up, Beards.
Just
listen. There's just noise going on.
Let's do it. Let's listen to the noise in the background. Turn it up, and we'll just keep talking over the noise.
Shelton nearby. Yeah, this sounds like we're live, broadcasting live from St. Joe.
Yeah, everybody. Oh, look at that kid over there.
This is nice.
Look at that kid over there. Oh, come on, sign his autograph.
Hey,
Don't
Beards,
just walk by him like
Beards,
that.
Text Lebo and tell him to tell Herbie not to say anything he would regret into a microphone. I didn't mean to pick up.
All right.
Ted Cruz.
Players that did not work today. Jerick McKinnon had a hamstring. Blake Bell, you know about. Buckers, he was back kicking. Lucas, Juju, and then Chris Jones back, just was sore. And then McCole had a groin. That's why he left. Groin. All right? Yep, you're welcome.
All right. Sore back for Chris Jones. Back was sore. All right, go home. Or go back up to the dorm, whatever it is. Or go get treatment, I guess it would be. Sore back, all good. I mean, obviously not all good, but it's not a back injury. He just had a sore back. McCole Hardman has a groin. Most of us do. His is just injured right now. And we'll see when he returns. Here's Eric Bieniemy. Here is going to be Eric Bieniemy very quickly.
We are nearly to Eric Bieniemy.
With everybody. Obviously, one of our last. Grow together. That's the challenge. That's been a heck of a start. So now we just need to continue building on it. With that said, I'm all ears.
Spagnuolo told us yesterday that, like, Monday, he kind of challenged his team after practice. I don't think he felt they did a great job. And then today, or yesterday, felt pretty good. Today looked very competitive. You guys, are you at that point in camp now where it's kind of like that?
Oh, yeah. I'm starting to see some growth in a lot of different positions, a lot of areas. You're starting to see guys, the light bulbs are turning on, Certain words are meaning something to them. They're starting to understand the fundamentals and technique that we're teaching. And so it's been fun to watch. Now, has it been perfect? No, it hasn't been perfect. But that's the beauty of training camp. These guys are working hard. They're accepting coaching. Our coaches are doing a hell of a job. And those guys are going out there and performing.
The newer guy, but Vitaly Gomez, the guy that came over the tryout guy for you, looks like he's getting some second team work now. What have you kind of learned about him and seen from him in camp?
Well, just like I've said in the past, Coach Heck does a great job. Coach Heck and Coach Corey does a great job with our offensive linemen. And they have a great working relationship with all those guys. And so our job as a staff is to make sure that we're giving everybody an opportunity to show what they can do. Now, when that kid has stepped up, he's done some good things. The thing is, and I'll say this, everything hasn't been perfect. But one thing that I love about him, he finds a way to strain the finish. And we talk about that all the time. We just want guys that play hard, that play fast, that has a sense of urgency and a sense of purpose in everything they do. We'll figure out the rest. But if everybody has that temperament, we'll be okay.
You were a former running back, so I know you look at the running back through a little different microscope than everyone else. What are you seeing from Isaiah Pacheco? It seems like he has, that I guess you can call confidence, right?
He's a very confident young man, okay? Now, you're talking about a kid that plays hard. Pacheco plays hard. The thing I need Pacheco to do, and first of all, he's doing a great job. He has tremendous work ethics. As a young back, this is probably one of the toughest things that they need to learn, is allowing the game to come to him, learning how to be a patient runner, okay? Understand exactly what's going on up front so now he can have a better feel on how to square his shoulders up, press it, and then read it out from there. But as far as work ethics, works hard. As far as a tough runner who will try and find 4.5 yards, checks that box, all right? And then on top of that, he does a great job in the pass game where he's catching it, and he's still learning to perfect his craft in pass pro. And it ain't so much with his attitude and blocking. It's just making sure he knows exactly who to pick up. And that takes a little while for a young guy.
How do you see Clyde Edwards-Helaire improve in your look this month?
You know what, Clyde has done a heck of a job. And the thing that my challenge has been for him is to, I know this sounds crazy, but just to get his win right, okay? To make sure that his endurance is right, to be able to play 7, 8, 9, 10 plays in a row. And so it's been impressive watching him work and challenging himself. And I've seen growth in that area. And the thing about it, I love the way he's functioning when he's, quote unquote, supposed to be tired. And that's the thing that he's growing with in this process, because now he's learning what it takes to become a professional football player, all right? You're not going to always feel at your best. But when we call upon you in that time, can you react, all right, and play just like you would have if it would have been the first play?
You're midway through August now, less than a month from the start of the regular season. Two of your top receivers are dealing with injuries. Smith-Schuster with the knee, McCole Hardman with the groin. What's your concern level right now with your wide receiver group, especially because it's mostly new people?
Well, first of all, you know this, Herbie. I'm not going to comment on any injuries with any of our guys. But just like any other position, the next man has to perform. So this gives our receiver coach, Joe Blameyer, all that stuff that he's been doing in that receiver room and all the drills that he's done. Now it's time for the younger guys to step up. This is an opportunity for someone else to show that they can play, that they can perform under pressure, all right, but also maximize the opportunity. So not nervous at all. Obviously, you want guys to always stay healthy, but this gives a number of guys an opportunity to go up there and step up and show exactly what they can bring to the table.
How capable is Watson in that role? It seems like he's been sort of a pleasant surprise for you guys.
Well, I'll say this about Mr. Watson. A consistent player, okay? And the thing about it, every day he goes out there, he's working to improve upon something. And every day he's found a way to make a play. So very pleased and satisfied with what we've seen so far, but he knows that he needs to continue working and continue improving on the little things.
Eric, this might be a little hard to sum up, but I'm curious, if you've known Andy quite a while now, and just going back, do you see him as having changed in some ways over the years?
I laugh because, and I say this humbly and respectfully, no, he's still the same person that I've always known. He's very consistent with how he treats people. I joked about it on, I forget what the name of the show that we did. That's a shame. But I talked about how he likes to eat and all that. You know, one thing as a staff, we ain't going to waste no groceries. So, you know, but Coach still has a great sense of humor. But on top of that, he's very detailed, he's very organized, and he has a plan. And so has he changed? No. The only thing he's done, he's aged and gotten better.
Aged and gotten better means he's evolved in some ways too?
Yes. I mean, just take a look at the offense and what he did in Philly in comparison to what we've done since we've been here collectively as a group since the 2013 season. So one thing I know about Coach, and he said this, I'll never forget this, in 1999, you know, you either evolve or you die out like the dinosaurs. So you have to remain flexible in what you do in this profession, because we all have to grow, and we just can't get stuck on ideas thinking that that's the best idea. We got to always work to improve.
What's the most growth you've seen from Sky Moore from the start of camp to now here?
Just gaining more and more confidence. The kids, first of all, he's an outstanding person. He's an outstanding player, and he's just a kid that always wants to know what can he improve upon. So the things that I love watching, first of all, I love watching him work, because he's going to work his tail off, and he accepts coaching, all right? But the thing that I love as well is that if he makes a mistake, he's not a kid that's going to repeat that same mistake. And that's the thing that's impressive about him. And then he's just having a good time. It's like he's playing PlayStation out there. He's just out there having fun. And it's fun to watch him work. But on top of that, it's fun to watch his growth process since day one. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, there's Eric Bieniemy talking about this Chiefs offense, the wide receiver injuries, Juju Smith-Schuster still not practicing, and Mecole Hardman leaving practice early with a groin injury. As he said, next man up, time for younger guys to show that they can make some plays. And if those two receivers do not play in the game on Saturday against the Commanders, then you're talking about, Sky Moore, MVS, Mecole Hardman, or a Sky Moore, MVS, right? If Juju and Mecole are out, Sky Moore being the fourth receiver. So your starters would be MVS and Sky against the Commanders, and then fill in after that. Here's L'Jarius Sneed.
What are you seeing? I see that they're hungry, man. Like, they want to be successful. I call Trent like the little Steph Curry. Like, he's a little swift little guy. He can do it all from the inside, from the outside. But I see all of them got potential, though.
Is it interesting watching them sort of understand what Spags wants, given what it was like for you and your own experience as a rookie? Because you didn't have a traditional training camp. What's it been like to watch it from your perspective to see them kind of go through this camp?
I can tell, man, from the OTAs, I can tell that they was ready to go when they first came in. I can tell that they learning a lot and they taking everything in as a young player and soaking it in.
You professionally, you're now entering your third year. How much would you say you've grown since you've entered the league as a rookie to where you are right now?
I've grown a lot, man. I can tell that it's my year 3, and I feel like an old guy. With the young guys coming in, I feel like I'm the veteran of the crew. But I feel like, man, I learned a lot from the time being. From now, from the inside, I learned a lot from the outside with my technique and stuff.
Is nickel a role you embrace, or is there a part of you that maybe just would want to be this island outside quarterback?
Man, whatever I can do for the team. I'm a team guy. Whatever I can do for the team to help the team.
How's McDuffie been doing as he's been mixing in on that?
He's been doing well. He's learning and picking up things really fast as a rookie.
What about the talk with Joshua? What have you learned from him so far? What is he kind of taking from you? You kind of take him under his wing?
Josh, man, I try to steal some things from him, as in using his hands. He's very good with his hands, and he's very patient at the line. I learned from him as a rookie, and I'm still learning myself.
When you played nickel more last year, can you explain what you gained from that will be better doing that job this year?
Yeah, I could tell that run fits. My run fits, I can jump gaps and make more plays, tackle for losses and stuff like that.
That's something that you seem to be known for, especially against the Bronx, the physical mentality and everything. How do you keep that edge? How do you maintain that?
It's all mindset, them big guys in there, you can't go in there, soft and stuff, it's all in your mind.
Where'd you pick that up?
I don't know where I picked it up from. I just picked it up. I just play ball.
LJ, you have a really good story to tell, and now that you get to be kind of the veteran in this group, how have you maybe seen yourself step into a mentor role to these young guys, explaining all the new hype of, hey, you're in the NFL now, you're going to get a lot of attention. Have you been able to do that?
We haven't sat down and talked about that yet, but, we have talked about ball. They're trying to learn ball right now. But on our off days, we get together, do Bible study, try to get in the Word with God. That's where we start off at. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right, there's L'Jarius Sneed, and calls Trent McDuffie Little Steph Curry.
It's a pretty good reference.
Yeah.
Pretty good thing to be called.
If you're thinking like Steph Curry size to other basketball players, and you're like, really little Steph Curry, well, Steph is 6'2", so little Steph Curry for a cornerback can still be 6 foot. So you're fine. I think McDuffie is 5'11", maybe almost 6 foot. So little Steph Curry, he's a swift little guy. Yeah, need to stop with the little stuff on McDuffie there, Sneed. You ain't exactly 6'5", man. But I did like what he said about Joshua Williams, that he was like, no, I learned from him. I'm taking things from him, too. His hands at the line of scrimmage that, I'm still trying to get better, and I'm learning about that from him. That was really interesting to hear that this is Sneed's third year, and this Joshua Williams guy, speaking of which, who is now talking.
Experiences, but, at a certain point, we want to move on to the season and start playing some games. So, it's all good.
Under your belt? I mean, did you feel like you shook out some of those jitters?
Absolutely. Finally getting that under my belt and just some of that real game time experience, that was the main thing, making sure I could learn from it, take something from it, and just apply it the next game.
What do you want to apply to this game on Saturday, John?
Say again?
What do you want to apply to this next game on Saturday?
Same things, that I, anything that I could have bettered or improved upon, that's what I want to continue to do each one of these preseason games and into the regular season. So, sticking with my man, knowing my assignments, just the simple things, nothing too crazy.
What did that first game teach you?
The first game, the first thing that'll probably stand out just from coming from college to the NFL, the pace, understanding just the little intricacies of the game, kind of the breaks between, knowing the pace of an offense, and kind of what they're looking to attack and when they're trying to attack. So.
Another D2 guy in your room, and Brandon Daniels, you really had a pick in that game, made a nice play on a ball yesterday. What have you seen from him in terms of growth, just being another kind of newcomer in that cornerback play?
Right, absolutely. I speak to Daniels about the playbook and try to get some of his skill set. Brandon's a great player. He's versatile. He can play on the outside. He can play some of that nickel spot. And, I talked to him about, because he has both perspectives, some of the things he expects when he sees, certain formations or certain, just looks.
This might not be a big thing, but is it helpful at all? Is it kind of cool to play with a guy here at camp that played college ball here, kind of knows his way around town and the university?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, he's the reason I was able to get back on campus yesterday. So, yeah, shout out to Brandon. That's my guy.
When we talk about your skill set, Joshua, everybody sort of acknowledges how good you are in press coverage.
Right.
I just wonder, with the exotic zones that Spags has in his playbook, just how do you feel playing zone coverage, and how much did you really do that in college, compared to what you maybe are asked to do here?
Right. Coming into a different system, especially like such a wide and expansive system like Coach Spags, it's giving you just a bigger outlook on defense. Like you said, I did play a lot of press man in college, but working with Coach Spags and working with my DB coach, Coach Merritt, Coach Don, all those guys, they're just opening my head up to different ideas, different techniques, and I'm just trying to soak it up, get better, and help this team win. So.
Speaking of Coach Merritt, last week he said that he calls you young defensive rookie cornerbacks the Fab Five.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you know who the Fab Five are, who is Chris Webber and who's Juwan Howard in the group?
Oh, man, see, that's what we're still trying to figure out. It's a whole lot of, I don't know. I think we all have some real wide and expressive personalities, so I don't want to just label anybody Chris Webber or any of the other guys. But I wouldn't mind being Juwan Howard, though. That's my guy.
Josh, we just talked to Jerry Sneed. He said he kind of learned a couple things from you. What have you learned from him?
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
What have you learned from him about just being a pro and being better being a secondary?
Right. Well, first off, that's a blessing for LJ to say that, because, I look up to LJ. That's a vet that I really do try to model myself after and take little things after. And he'll I don't know. He's a real humble dude, so he might not tell you. Almost any time I'm coming off the field, I'm asking him, how I can do this. What did he do right here? And he'll give it to you. He's not one of those people who's kind of just in his own world. He'll come and offer some of that wisdom. And at the same time, him being humble, knowing how to speak to the rookies so we understand it, that's just, that's a plus. I love him.
Joshua, why couldn't you get back on campus, and how did Brandon help you?
Oh, no, we were just getting a workout. It wasn't, no. Don't get me in trouble now.
Josh, you came from an HBCU.
Right.
There's a lot of young guys that are playing football that are thinking, HBCU, trying to make that decision between HBCU and traditional schools.
Right.
What would be that message that you could give them, to say you can still make it to the next level?
Absolutely. First off, there's a lot of different things that both of them offer. So it really just depends on the kind of person you are. But I do want to say that coming out of high school, I just didn't know what HBCUs did offer. And when I finally did end up there, it was kind of like an eye-opener, you know, learning the culture of the HBCU, kind of how things get around. And that whole vibe of it, it's great. You know, I wouldn't trade it for anything or a different experience because it got me where I am today. But, you know, at the same time, I'm sure, you know, there's certain people in the world who may rather, you know, a traditional college, and that's respectable too.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you. Yep. All right, thank you. Yep.
All right, there's Joshua Williams. Really liking what we're seeing from Joshua Williams, and certainly hearing as well. That was entertaining to listen to him talk about. Brandon Dandridge got him back on campus or whatever it was. It's like, no, it was a workout, but either way, trying to find out where he was supposed to go and maybe got lost even on campus somewhere, and it was had to call Brandon, hey, where am I supposed to go, man? You went to school here. So a lot of other takeaways from Joshua Williams. Here is Harrison Butker.
Yeah, definitely. There's some technique changes I made really early on after the season that I think has contributed to more power. I feel like I'm a more efficient kicker. You know, I've always swung really hard, but the ball hasn't necessarily gone as far as I feel like it should for a guy that's 6'4", and I think relatively explosive. I think kickoffs, my leg power really shows, but on field goals, I think I've just changed some technique stuff. So I'm even more efficient. I think the ball is going as far as it ever has now for field goals. So.
What does that mean? Do you feel like with regard to field goals, you've increased your range even more?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, I feel like I'm hitting 63 yards into the wind. When wind's at my back, you know, we've gone to 70, 72. In that Chicago game, we made 68, and 74 was a little short. But I feel like I have a lot of distance now, and that'll hopefully come up this season.
Can you walk us through those slight alterations in your technique and what made you feel like it was necessary?
Yeah. So some of the top guys, you know, let's just say Justin Tucker, if you watch his film, his ball rotation, you see the laces are pretty much in the middle the entire time. If you watch me or some other maybe inefficient kickers, if you're looking at the ball rotation, the laces are way left, way right. The ball's not going completely end over end. So if I put the same amount of energy into a kick and the ball's going end over end versus a lot of same amount of energy into another kick where I maybe have my toe forward, it's not a completely flush kick. You know, I want my foot to be perpendicular with the ball. If it's not perpendicular with the ball's not going to be going end over end, and so it's just not going to go as far, right? So that's kind of what I mean is being efficient. One way you achieve that is having your foot perpendicular to the ball, and then after contact is your foot following the ball. And I think I have an issue of my foot makes contact with the ball, and then very early on my foot's going off left. So I'm losing all this energy, whereas now I feel like my foot is following the ball for a lot longer. I'm getting nice rotation. I think I'm getting more energy behind that kick.
We saw you hit that one against Chicago pregame.
Yeah.
How did that feel? I guess was that part of the feeling like you gained something this offseason?
Yeah, you know, the 68-yarder I didn't even hit well. I was surprised that went in. I think the 70, whatever, 2 or 4 it was, I hit too high, so it fell a little short. Every game, though, I want to know my distance both directions. So the other way, I think we made 61 or 63, and then the direction with the wind. I want to see what that is. So halftime, end of a game, you know, the coaches can feel confident putting me out there for a 70-yarder if I showed that in warm-up.
You talked about efficiency. You got a guy, Justin Reed, that's campaigning to be your backup.
Yeah.
How efficient was he when you watched his kickoff film?
It's crazy because he's actually not very efficient, but the ball goes so far. You know what I'm saying? It was phase 2. He got a kick in the indoor, and he told me, you know, I love the specialists. I kicked a lot with Kaimi, with the Texans, and I think I had seen some videos of him kicking. But in the indoor, he was just bombing balls with a ton of height, so I knew he had a big leg. And I just thought, you know, he just wanted to kick some footballs, and, you know, he just naturally has the technique. Come to find out, he played, you know, travel soccer all throughout high school. So he got that rhythm and technique from a young age, but he's got a big leg. And I think it's just fine-tuning it. And if I was him, I would take advantage, you know, of Tommy and me and learn as much as he can from us, because he made an extra point when the pressure was on in preseason. So I'm all for it. I'm all for evolving the game of kicking and pushing the limits. And so to have more people that are enthusiastic about being kickers, I'm all for it.
So he has an invitation to the special teams meetings? Kicking?
I'm sure he's busy during that time with the safeties, but no, we love it. I mean, Tommy coaches me up. I help Tommy out. You know, we just spend so much time together, and we kind of understand kicking and everything. I think it's my children yelling at me. I was wondering. Sounds familiar. Yeah.
You know the elation of making a good kick, but yeah, you gave Justin a hug. Can you just describe what it was like to see his elation in a game that is a preseason game?
You have so many people that hit you up on Twitter, Instagram, saying, "Man, I'm gonna take your job," because I made a kick on a high school field, right? But to do it in a game, that's super impressive. These stadiums, they generate wind. Fields can be different than just a turf field. And he went out there and he made the kick when the pressure was on. Nobody blocked the kick. So I'm super pumped for him. I know how difficult that is to go out there and execute when he doesn't really practice it. And
Some guys have been out this week, right? What can you guys gain from being able to go out there and have Travis snap the ball or Gore snap or someone else hold? What can you gain from that this week?
I think it's great for all of us. I haven't kicked with a different snapper. Maybe I'll get some reps in tomorrow. But it's great for Tommy to be able to confidently be in there and know if something happens, knock on wood, to James, there can be a backup that can fill in for the rest of the game, and we can still get by. Kelsey's a great athlete. He was able to get some great snaps in. Gore did a good job as well. But if we ever needed to get through a game, it's nice to know those guys can kind of take over for us and fill in.
You mentioned time with the ankle. Are you okay there, and are you through that?
Yeah, I was able to kick today, and I'll kick tomorrow, and I think it was just precautionary, just resting from coming off a game and just giving it time to go.
You mentioned the platform you have. How do you determine what to advocate for publicly and not? That must be, I'm sure, a complicated thing to think about all the time.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Coach Reed always says, let our personality show. So, if it's really close to my heart, I will speak out about it, as an individual away from the Chiefs. So you just pray about it, and if God puts it on your heart, then speak up.
I was just going to say that is something you foresee yourself continuing to do as well?
I don't know if politics is something I would get into, but I think God has given us a platform, and like I said, if it is close to your heart, I think we should speak up, and we've seen that across the whole league the past really 2 years or so. If you want to get involved, get involved. Clark Hunt talks about, if there's something in the community you want to be involved with, he's more than happy to help with it. So I think it's how do we get back to the community and get involved.
Any adverse reaction from teammates or anything like that?
Or what are you referring to? To
your commercial that you were at?
No, it's actually we all respect each other's opinions. That's what we love about football is it's kind of like a melting pot. A bunch of different guys, different backgrounds, different personalities, different viewpoints come together, and we can just kind of hang out and talk about stuff. At the end of the day, we're Chiefs football players, and we're trying to practice as hard as we can to come together during a game and win it. But I think it's a great time for us to dialogue and just talk about, each other's viewpoints.
Harrison, you mentioned people coming at you on Twitter about kicking, right? Stuff like
Right.
that. How do you, when you get involved with every issue is divisive in America these days, it seems. How do you handle that part of it when it's not your teammates, it's someone you may not even know reaching out to you?
Yeah, this is something I changed probably last year, maybe a year and a half ago, but I don't look at comments or DMs anymore. So early on in my career, I'd get DMs all the time, or, on YouTube, you'd see Justin Tucker, I'm coming for your job, or Harrison Butker. So I'd see that stuff, but I don't look at the comments or the DMs anymore. I think you have to prioritize the people whose opinions you care about. And I think a lot of times as athletes, we love getting praised. So you care about getting praised, you care about people's opinions then, but if they have negative opinions, then you don't want to listen to it. But if they're not part of your inner circle and you really don't care about their opinion, then I don't think you should listen to it, whether it's good or bad. So keep my circle tight, and I love posting on there, putting stuff out on social media. But as far as viewing comments and DMs, I've strayed away from that, and that's really helped me just do what I need to do,
Harrison, you mentioned Justin Tucker earlier.
Right.
Do you get a chance to spend much time with him and talk to him, and what do you guys discuss and work on?
Not a ton. Tucker's agent was a guy that I was looking at when I was coming out from college, so I got to talk to Justin a little bit there. Justin was in the league when I was, I think, a senior in high school, so I watched him all throughout college, and the things that he's been able to do have been very impressive. And every time we get to play him, I try to pick his brain as much as I can, but I have a lot of respect for what he does, and I think he's a guy that's evolving the game and pushing the limits.
number. Would you love to get a chance in a game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the conditions have to be right. You know, it's got to be warm, probably some wind at your back. But like I was talking about with Justin, you got to do it when the pressure's on, you know, full snap hold. Team's coming to block the kick. But I feel like I have the distance for it, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Harrison.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
All right, there's Harrison Butker. A 70-yard field goal. Wants to attempt that at some point in his career. We'll see what happens there. We do need to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling some takeaways from the press conferences. Coming up at noon, we will talk with Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. Mick Shaffer will hang out with us in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, guys.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Men lie, women lie, stats don't. But I also think stats are for losers. Final score is for winners.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, quick segment here, and then we'll talk with Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, coming up at noon. Also from the PFF NFL podcast that he does with Steve Palazzolo, which is good stuff as well. Eric Bieniemy, L'Jarius Sneed, Joshua Williams, and Harrison Butker talking today.
I got one takeaway.
I was going to say,
no, you go.
Some stuff to
Jason,
take away.
You go.
Here's my takeaway.
You go first.
My entire takeaway. I flipped 2 players on the Fab Five. Joshua Williams wants to be Juwan Howard. I had Williams as Rose and Brian Cook as Juwan Howard.
Yeah.
I'm fine flipping that. I'm fine going Weber with McDuffie, Brian Cook as Jalen Rose, and then Joshua Williams as Juwan Howard. My bad, Joshua. He picked Juwan Howard. You get first pick if you're going to actually choose.
If you claim it and you don't claim the obvious ones, you should definitely get your say.
Yeah, he was like, I'd love to be Juwan Howard. That's my guy. All right, great. You're Juwan. You have now become Juwan Howard in the Fab Five. But here's the thing, Brian Cook. I'm going to need to see more from you. Because if Jalen Watson is going to keep playing like this, he may move up to Rose.
Wow.
And you may slide all the way back to King or Jackson. And I don't know that you want to be in that group. And that's the case. Right, maybe make a player too.
I can hear the font get smaller of what you were saying.
What was your takeaway?
We touched on it briefly between the passing over from L'Jarius Sneed to Joshua Williams. But the vibes of the cornerback room just appear to be immaculate at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it really just seems like, and we've heard from a variety of guys. Was it yesterday that we got Joshua Williams or that we got Jalen Watson?
I was going to say we got Joshua Williams today.
That we got Jalen Watson. Yes, I'm going to be doing that for their entire careers. I'm still not. If Brandon Carr and Brandon Flowers walked into the studio right now, I would have a panic attack.
Watson was on Monday. Yesterday was Fenton and Danny Shelton and Sky Moore.
I guess it was Monday because he was talking about learning from LJ, and he had a whole second of like, hope he didn't mean Lonnie Johnson because he's not there anymore. But they all call Sneed LJ, so we get that now. But from all of these young guys learning from Fenton and Sneed, it is still a remarkably young group, top to bottom. And it just seems like they're all genuinely learning from each other, genuinely growing a ton, which also I think says good things about Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt. That's the thing that I just am going to keep going back to for the rest of the preseason. Is this unit as good as the Chiefs believe it to be? Because they let the veterans go, and the vibes seem good right now. I'm in on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So Fab Five, throw in Sneed and Fenton as well, and you got 7 of the guys there. We'll see who's going to make the squad. I'm optimistic as to what this secondary can look like. I'm optimistic about what the defense can look like, just because of the athleticism that we've talked about, on Monday, of what one of the main takeaways was. We'll see when they play the Commanders and Carson Wentz coming up on Saturday.
What a test.
Sam Monson next.
Listen to... The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Don't dab babies, okay?
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. We head up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Mick Shaffer at 1 o'clock. If you're just joining us, updates from training camp with the Chiefs. Chris Jones left practice at the beginning of practice with a sore back. There was concern because he rode the cart up the hill. It is quite the steep hill. So if you've got a sore back, you're going to ride the cart. He was in the front seat, as we talked about. And then one of the more concerning ones was that in the middle of 11-on-11, Mecole Hardman went up for a catch in the end zone, came down awkwardly, limped to the tent, was looked at, and then he rode the cart as well. Again, front seat. Turns out it is a groin injury for Mecole Hardman. There was concern because he was limping, and they were looking at his left leg. So anytime that happens, when you say he jumped up, landed awkwardly, and now he's got a left leg injury. Ugh. Groin injury. Okay, great. He's been in the offense for 3 years. See ya September 11th, Mecole Hardman. Joining us now, Pro Football Focus, Sam Monson, and from PFF NFL Podcast. Really good NFL podcast. If you have not checked it out, it's a really fun one to listen to. He joins us now. Sam, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Doing well. How about you guys?
We are doing just fine, A little bit, I guess, Chiefs fans more relieved now to hear that, you know what, the leg injury from Mecole Hardman is just a groin injury, nothing serious, because while those things happen in training camp, right, it's one of the things that I've always said that when training camp starts, you don't want to see the breaking news with your team on the bottom line scroll. You just want to avoid that. But with this wide receiver core this year, Mecole Hardman's going to play a decent role. Juju Smith-Schuster has been missing practice with a sore knee. Like, this is something where it's got to be all hands on deck and those top guys if they're going to try to make up for no Tyreek Hill.
Well, first of all, I just have to credit you guys for your journalistic integrity and going the extra mile of telling us what seat they were riding in
Exactly.
the cart, because that's the key piece of information that's always missing from these initial reports. It's a potential scare for Mecole Hardman, because you're right, he should feature in this offense, and the door is open for somebody to step up and become really the kind of number one wide receiver. Obviously, Travis Kelce will be the number one receiver, but the wide receiver position is kind of throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And when you've got Patrick Mahomes and one of the best offensive lines in the NFL and Travis Kelce already there, I think that's generally a pretty sound strategy to add a lot of players and see how it pans out and see kind of what the dynamic ends up being. But it does mean that the jobs are there for any of those guys to really step up and do something kind of above and beyond what they've potentially done previously in their NFL careers.
Visiting with Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. What do you think of this Chiefs offense, or your expectations for this Chiefs offense this year? No Tyreek Hill, and then what we saw last year at times when they had their issues, and then the end of the season when it seemed like they were playing much better. But how do you view this Chiefs offense and maybe an expectation of what they can be?
Yeah, I think anytime you're starting with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, great offensive line, it's going to be one of, if not the best offenses in the NFL. The question is, though, more what it looks like. And you're right, it did struggle at times last season. And obviously those struggles are relative to the baseline that the Chiefs have set in recent years rather than, relative to the New York Jets or another offense that was actually just a disaster. But they did have problems being more patient and shifting their approach to a lower level of aggression in terms of the offense and dialing back the big plays that were being taken away from them and having to do this by increments and, death by 1,000 paper cuts, the kind of way that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Drew Brees and those guys have been really good at doing in the past when teams put them in those situations. I think Patrick Mahomes now is having to adapt to that kind of play. And it doesn't mean you've always got to do it, but if a team's going to force you into that style, you need to be able to adapt and to run that type of offense and not have it cause you major problems. And you could see there were games last year where things started off fine and they were doing it okay, and then there would be a mistake, and that mistake almost sort of started the problems. You could see they just weren't quite confident in playing that style of play. And once those mistakes started to happen, everybody tightened up and more mistakes followed. The other interesting element is whether we're going to see a shift in approach to more sort of power style of football, more multiple backs rather than wide receivers, those kinds of things. The change in dynamic, losing a Tyreek Hill, I think fundamentally changes really the basis of this offense and opens up a whole bunch of different directions that the whole thing could potentially go in.
It's one game, and it's one game in the preseason, Sam, but the Chiefs' opening drive with 11 plays, they had 5 first down plays. 3 of them were in 21 personnel. Is that just it's Andy Reid and it's vanilla and, okay, come Arizona, like we're not going to play with Michael Burton on the field for, 5 of 11 plays in the first drive, which he was on the field for in 5 of 11 of those plays. They had a fullback. Is there maybe something more to glean from that the 2 wide receivers, the 1 tight end being Kelsey, and then playing with the fullback more often than not, if the teams are going to go the 2 deep shell and play to keep that deep stuff away?
Yeah, I think there could be. I mean, it's definitely something that jumped out to a lot of people, when they watched that Chiefs opening drive and you saw the way they were lining up and the personnel groupings they were using, it raised eyebrows. And maybe it is their answer to this style of defense that they were seeing a ton of last season, and it makes sense when you think about what that type of defense does. It is taking away deep threats, but at the expense of lightning defense against the box, taking a guy away from the run game. And, a counter to that is running the ball more. An even more emphatic counter to that is running the ball more from a more powerful personnel group and really potentially causing defenses problems in terms of what that personnel matchup is going to look like. So Kansas City didn't run a ton of that last year at all. Below league average, obviously, in 2-back type of looks. So far, they've suggested that they might run a lot more of it, and maybe that was just one random preseason game, but I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on because the pieces would be in place for them to do that, and it does make a lot of sense as a logical schematic counter to the kind of defenses that were causing them issues last year.
One of the things that I'm curious about is, early in the season, we know this offseason has been that they're going to look different. How are they going to be different? We'll find out. It might be that, what Mahomes was on the first drive, 6 receptions, 6 different players. That might be the theme of this season. Whether it's 21 personnel might be a theme, but it's an unknown at this point. With Tyreek Hill and the typical wide receiver group that they've had, there's an expectation of what the Chiefs will run, how they'll run their things, what they're doing against the 2 deep, and teams maybe can prepare for it. It's not trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm generally curious because the answer might be no, but could there be an advantage early on in the season for the Chiefs offense in that the way they may play without Tyreek Hill is not something teams can prepare for, and they'll have to maybe adjust on the fly to the new things the Chiefs might be doing?
Yeah, definitely. I think teams are going to start off the season playing Kansas City the way they did last year. Let's run these 2 high shells. That gave them problems, and it wasn't, even though those 2 high shells probably became a bigger factor because of Tyreek Hill, I think once defenses realized that it was causing Kansas City some issues, that's what they were going to see a ton of, regardless of whether Tyreek Hill was on the field or not. I would imagine until the Chiefs show that they have a better strategy to combat that than they did a season ago, that's what we're going to see, or that's what Kansas City is going to see. And you're right, there's a number of different ways that the Chiefs could have prepared to counter that. And I think whether or not they're successful and which one they're going to be using are still unknowns. And it could absolutely be a case of the research work in the offseason, the planning, it's all been successful, and they've got an absolutely devastating counter to that style of defense, and it's going to take the rest of the league a few weeks to see the impact of that and then adjust themselves back to try and find something else that works.
Are people fading Mahomes too much, or the right amount, considering we haven't seen him for an extended period of time without Kelsey and Tyreek on the field? We've seen him 4-game stretch in 19 without Tyreek, but for an extended period of time, him not being in this offense anymore. Are people maybe fading the Chiefs' offense and Mahomes a little too much, or do you think there's a right degree of people having their skepticism?
Yeah, I think probably a little too much. Like I said, when you've got Mahomes and Andy Reid and all the talent on this offense, it's going to be a great offense. The only question is how great and what are the degrees to which it has caused problems. But I do think that this is a really interesting period in Patrick Mahomes' career because I don't want to say it's easy for players to sort of take the league by storm and dominate for a short period of time, but it's easier than sustaining incredible success for an entire career. And that's what makes Tom Brady in particular so absurd, is that he's reinvented himself several times over the course of a 20-year career. And once teams figure out one thing that causes them problems, he changes how he plays and he adjusts and he adapts and overcomes. And I think Mahomes is going through the first iteration now of teams having finally found something that caused him problems. And now he's going to have to show that he can neutralize that and that it won't be a factor going forward. I think last year it was. And, look, it's all relative. Mahomes had a relative down year for him. But a relative down year for him is still 4,800 yards, like a ton of touchdowns. It's not that many interceptions. It's still a career year for most quarterbacks out there. But that's not the expectations that he's set for himself over the first few seasons of his career. So now for the first time, I think Mahomes has to show that he can adapt to something that the league is throwing his way and bounce back to being the best quarterback in the NFL again.
Yeah, 4,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions is the down year, which also, when you say relative, it also speaks to when you say taking the league by storm and how good you've been, is that's like, ooh, what happened to Mahomes last year? He only almost had 5,000 yards, and it was really the interceptions that stood out, the 13 interceptions, because we just hadn't seen him do some of those things. He had 11 the 2 years combined and 13 last year. Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, and the PFF NFL podcast. So defensively in preseason game number 1 against the Bears, we know it's a pretty suspect offensive line for the Bears. So that's the grain of salt. But not having seen what Karlaftis would look like going up against other offensive linemen, the takeaway around here has been really positive from the first glimpse of George Karlaftis. From the outside, the 10,000-foot view, the national view, did you see the same things in Karlaftis and what could be maybe not an all-pro season, but a difference maker in terms of the Chiefs have to get pressure on the quarterback, that he could be that guy that they were hoping to get with their second first-round draft pick?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that George Karlaftis leads all Chiefs edge rushers in pressures this year. I think he could be their best edge rusher immediately. And I think he was kind of criminally overlooked in the draft process. Everybody dialed in on what the number 1 overall pick was going to look like, and it started off being Kayvon Thibodeau, and then it was Aiden Hutchinson, and then it became Trayvon Walker, and those 3 guys kind of got all the attention. And then once we got beyond those, everybody started focusing on, who was your favorite of the next tier of guys, and it was all the sort of top of round 2, bottom of round 1, situational pass rushers, and the Drake Jacksons and Boye Maffe's and Arnold Ebiketis of the world. And George Karlaftis was just kind of sitting in the middle, and everybody ignored him. They kind of jumped straight from those top 3 guys to the rest, and ignored the fact that Karlaftis really had a kind of pass rushing profile in college that stacked up with those guys at the top of this draft. Maybe he wasn't as spectacular as an athlete as Trayvon Walker. Maybe he wasn't as spectacularly productive as Aiden Hutchinson, but he was a pretty good compromise of all of those skills. And I think there's a really good chance that because he's so sort of technically sound and has enough athleticism, that he's just going to come in, hit the ground running, and be a productive player right away. And then, his ceiling is maybe up for debate, but that's less important to the Chiefs than just getting somebody that can rush the passer from the edge consistently.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, do you find a superstar there or find somebody just to fill a spot that can play above average football? And when I look at a defense, I know that Tyrann Mathieu was a big part of this Chiefs defense for the 3 years and a big part of 2019 winning the Super Bowl and adding him in. They lose Charvarius Ward and Tyrann Mathieu and things like that. When I look at the defense overall, and then I pair it with the fact that Tyreek Hill was traded, they get these draft picks back. They use a number of them on the defensive side of the football. I'm more of a I'd rather eliminate holes than add a superstar. And that's where I think the Chiefs, or what the Chiefs have done, in my opinion, in the offseason is, the third linebacker, they got better. Third safety, they got better. Overall secondary, I think they got better. With Karlaftis, added in as a defensive end, a younger guy, even though they lose Melvin Ingram, who, had some pressures, but I'm hoping George Karlaftis is better than what Melvin Ingram brought him last year. Then they are better there. They may not have added a superstar, Sam, but if they're eliminating holes and getting more athletic, then yeah, I think you're a better defense than what you were the year before.
Yeah, I think it's a sound strategy. The only issue is there's risk attached to it. And, when you trade away a guy like Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill is a guaranteed game changer. And whether or not the change is always positive, the unintended consequence of Tyreek Hill scaring every defense into the NFL into playing two high coverage shells was all of a sudden the two high coverage shells started giving you problems. But in theory, having a player that can change and dictate the coverage that a defense is playing every single week is a massive benefit to the offense. So Tyreek Hill, you knew, was the most dangerous playmaker in the NFL and a guy that was going to transform what happens on the field every week.
Yeah.
You trade him away, you get a package of draft picks, you add a bunch of players, and, PFF loved the Chiefs draft. It was like they were drafting from PFF's draft board. Every single player they got was massive value when you compare our board relative to their draft position. So we thought they had a fantastic draft.
Sam, they showed up to the draft like the guy in fantasy football that just grabs a magazine real quick and goes to the draft. They grabbed the PFF Big Board magazine and went to the draft.
Right, but every single drafting, big board is going to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And as much as we love that draft, we don't know about any of these players yet. We think that Karlaftis may hit the ground running. We think that Trent McDuffie can be a fantastic corner. But if they don't get the production that we think is there from this group, then all of a sudden that's where the kind of risk attached to trading away a guaranteed player starts to surface.
Yeah, it's like the strategy versus the execution. Like when it comes to like tanking and things like that. I like the strategy. If you're bad, you're not going to win to get draft picks. Then you got to execute on how you utilize those draft picks and bring them into the league and develop and things like that. I liked the strategy of Tyreek Hill as opposed to paying him $30 million. I love Tyreek Hill being on the Chiefs, but that annual average value and how much money against the cap really in a couple of years is when that would kick in anyway, versus you've got to get better overall and continue to extend that window. I like the strategy. Now it's a matter of, did Brett Veach, the front office, the scouts, and now the coaches do enough to make up for losing Tyreek Hill? If Karlaftis is going to be a guy with a high floor and is going to be good, and McDuffie can be a top, at least a number one starting cornerback, top 30 cornerback in the NFL. They're like, all right, they got one guy there, and Sky Moore can fill in that role. Then you start to look around and go, okay, it makes sense. They're a better team and they're younger and cheaper even without Tyreek Hill. Or they're the same sort of on a scale of 1 to 10, Sam. They were a 6 or a 7, 8 with Tyreek Hill. You take him away, they're now down to a 5. You add all these guys in, maybe you're up to an 8, but you're younger and cheaper now. It's the execution as opposed to, the strategy is all on Brett Veach and the front office and now the coaching staff's plate.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that the Chiefs have been one of the best drafting teams in the league over the last number of years. Now, the flip side of that is very rarely does that continue permanently. Almost every single team that has a good run of drafting immediately follows it by a bad run of drafting. And statistically, almost nobody in the league is sort of quantifiably better long-term than everybody else. Everybody is essentially still throwing darts at a board. And that's why the draft is still seen as this giant crapshoot. But in recent seasons, the Chiefs have been excellent at drafting. So if they do it again, then it will be the right move.
Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus and PFF NFL Podcast. Last one for you. Just looking at the AFC West overall, it's obviously has gotten much tougher this offseason. AFC overall, are the Chiefs still the favorite in your mind in the West? And even if they are, how close do you think it is from the Chargers, from maybe the Broncos with Russell Wilson, and the fact that the Raiders made the playoffs out of this division and they're sort of just dismissed as, well, they're the fourth team here, even though they made the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're probably still the favorites. And I think the reason is because I think they have the narrowest range of outcomes. You know, a good Kansas City season looks quite a lot like a bad Kansas City season. And I just don't think there's that much of a range in terms of how good they're going to be. They're going to be at or near the top. Whereas, you know, Denver, the Russell Wilson thing, I think has quite a broad range of outcomes. He almost certainly propels the team forward in a significant way, but he could propel them all the way to legitimate Super Bowl status, or it could be a step forward, but we still see some issues with Russell Wilson and a new offense, and we're still sort of wondering why we're not seeing the very best of Russell Wilson. Similarly, you know, everybody loves the offseason that the Chargers had, but that's been true for like the last 9 consecutive seasons, and at some point they actually have to show it on the field. So as much as we expect the Chargers to maybe be the closest team to run Kansas City, there might be another year where it just doesn't work out, and we're still wondering why they can't get over that hump. And then the Raiders, you're right, they made the playoffs, but I think the real reason that they're not seen as the true class of the division is because, like, Derek Carr was good last year, and his career year looks like the down year for Patrick Mahomes. You know, the 4,800 yards, like that's basically Derek Carr's career year right there. And in any given season, he's probably the 4th best quarterback in this division. Now, he's a good quarterback, but the difference between that and Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert at their best, I think, is a pretty significant one. So, you know, until the Raiders find a way of offsetting that disadvantage, which is tough to do given the strength of the rosters elsewhere in the division, I think they probably are the 4th best team in most outcomes.
Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, and the PFF NFL podcast. Really enjoyable podcast. Sam, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it, sir. And we'll talk soon, and keep up the good work with the podcast. I really enjoy it.
Anytime. Thanks. Take it easy.
Absolutely. There's Sam Monson. Pro Football Focus as Chiefs get ready for the Commanders coming up on Saturday. And we'll continue to let people know the news of the day, and that is Chris Jones and Mecole Hardman leaving practice early. Chris Jones with a sore back, Mecole Hardman with a groin injury. They do not know the significance or how significant the injury is to Mecole Hardman. They'll have an MRI and further testing, but he left practice early, rode in the front seat of the cart. Shotgun! You think that's what happened? They were getting in the car. Shotgun! Mecole, you're the only one going with this. I don't care. I called it. I called shotgun. There's nobody not sitting in the middle. You're the only guy, Mecole. He rode in the front seat, so that's at least good news. But groin injury for Mecole Hardman. Juju Smith-Schuster already dealing with the sore knee, so it's getting thin fast for the Chiefs at the wide receiver spot, and we'll see what happens on Saturday if both of those guys do not play, what that wide receiver group looks like. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will continue rolling more zone. Right after this, we'll continue talking some Chiefs, and then Mick Shaffer will join us at 1 o'clock. More next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I've got control of all these knobs over here.
Wow.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so we got an update on Mecole Hardman. Joshua Brisco, who has been searching Twitter.
Yeah.
As much as you can search Twitter these days.
Reporting live on the scene.
That's right.
Haven't seen anything I didn't want to see.
Update with Mecole Hardman. What is that update, sir?
From Alex Marvez, Andy Reid told SiriusXM NFL that Mecole Hardman is undergoing an MRI on the groin injury he suffered during Wednesday's practice. Andy is optimistic it isn't serious. And that is the note from Alex Marvez. Also from the New York Post, a fitness influencer is eating 100 eggs a day.
Okay. And that's also from Andy Reid to Alex Marvez?
Just the last two things I tweeted about. I wanted to just bring that to your attention, that there is a man out just fully Gaston.
What is the
eating 100 eggs a day?
Third most recent thing you have tweeted about?
Just retweeted something you saw by accident earlier today. Wanted to pass it along. No, that's not true. My third most recent thing was Kevin Clark asking the question, if you get a carry in an NFL game, you can't kneel, you have to attempt to give it your all at full speed. How soon after the carry can you return to living a normal life? And I was saying that you could just bury me there because I will already be probably about 2 feet underground at point of contact. So just get me another 4 or 5 feet under and I'm good. You can just leave me there.
So here are the last The Zone retweeting podcast or the video. They've all been retweets or a quote tweet. The most recent ones are Matt Verderam, Jim Nantz, and Tony Romo will call the Chiefs an Arizona Cardinals game in Week 1.
Gotta have a baseball stat in here somewhere. Vinny Pasquantino stat, maybe?
Previous to that was the Frank Clark and almost getting Patrick Mahomes. It would have been a sack. We talked about that. And then Mahomes to MVS and what a great play that was. And me talking about that. We haven't seen a receiver like that with Patrick Mahomes where he can sort of throw it up and let that guy go and go and grab it. Although it was a perfect throw to say, well, he just threw it up. He put it on a damn dime. So that was he was a Danny Dime with an actual Danny Dime. It was a Patty Dime. And then the other one being Curtis Seabolt saying, quote, Danny, what are your favorite curse words, end quote. That would be to Danny Shelton, a question that Curtis Seabolt did not get to ask.
I also recently retweeted a really good tweet from at Speed2 on Twitter, who sent in a Photoshop of Danny Shelton's top half on a Blastoise body.
I'm not sure what the last part was, but the picture is hilarious.
It's really, really well done.
Good. Glad to hear it.
The Chiefs signed Blastoise.
So what does the wide receiver group look like on Saturday if there is no Juju and there is no Mecole Hardman?
I would say Marquez Valdez-Scantling is sort of, what would you say, maybe a Blaziken vibe? Yeah. Well, Rapidash is pretty good. I was thinking
I didn't mean
Blaziken.
As a Pokemon. I meant like legit, what does it look like?
You asked, what did it look like? We told you.
Blaziken.
What does it look like? Speak to me like I'm 42 years old.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure thing, Dad.
Now I'm a boomer?
Well, are you not? Is 42 not make you a boomer? Are you a Gen Xer? What is your generation?
Gen X.
Gen Xer, okay.
I'm not a boomer. I wasn't born after the war. I'm not a boomer there, guy.
The greatest generation, Jason Anderson.
Really my mom is a boomer.
Good to be here.
I am not a boomer. But MVS and Sky, right? Those would be the top two if you're starting wide receivers.
Sky a flying type beards, do you think?
Goodness.
His name is Sky Moore.
Yes.
He's got to be a flying type of some sort.
Yeah, but you got to have a thicker lower half.
That's true.
What is a thicker
I'm on it.
I'm really trying to don't search thicker lower half. I wouldn't do that.
I will not.
Whether that's Google or Twitter.
I will not. I'm opening Pokemon Go. It's just the easiest place for me to see like a Pokedex on my phone.
I am wanting to really get the nickname with Sky Moore connected, that we just simply move forward with it being Thigh Moore.
Yeah, I do think I think Thigh Moore is good.
We just have to stay with Sky is a fun name, right? Because it's the limit for what he can do, apparently, with how good he can be. But with all of the talk and the wide eyes and some just a little bit too much staring at the size of his legs, Thigh Moore is a much better description than Sky Moore, okay? He's not a great leaper. I don't know. Maybe he is, but I don't think of him as somebody that's going to go and dunk.
What do you think,
He does have
Beard?
great thighs.
So Dragonite is pretty thick. That's a pretty thick lower half, but it is still, and it's got little wings, so it doesn't fly too high.
Yeah, but it flies.
But it
It's
does
sky.
fly. No, that's what I'm saying.
perfect.
It's a flying type, thicker on the bottom, but it's not soaring through the skies.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It could sky more. In fact,
I know nothing about the Pokemon, but looking at the picture, that's what I would go with.
that's you would love my MVS comp. if
How would
knew
you
what a Blaziken
describe them
was.
as humans, though? Like, what would you describe MVS? Would it be like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling type player? You need like a Sky Moore. You know how people say a player, and they're like, well, if you can get more, like a Jerick McKinnon or something, a guy like that, or as Mike Anderson used to always say, when you got a Damare Carroll or a Leo Lyons, a guy like a Kim English, even a Michael Anderson Jr. How about just specifically those guys, Mike Anderson?
Yeah. What about? Hey, we know what you have though. We have
like
one of those.
a Leo Lyons. It was like,
Yeah.
what about actually Leo Lyons? That would have certainly helped that year in 2001. Not listed.
Whatever.
Whatever.
If I'm playing like Silver Lining for Saturday, the Chiefs wide receiver that I want to see the least in the preseason is McCole Hardman. I mean that I feel okay about who he is. Not that he doesn't need to be out there. That I'm not looking forward to seeing him in the regular season. There I am. It changes 100%. But if we get more Sky Moore with the ones, especially if Juju's out on Saturday, I'm good with that. I would like to see Juju continue to get live game reps, and certainly you can get whatever you want from McCole Hardman. But I would be happy to see that just turn into more work for Sky Moore.
Also, along those lines, when we were talking on Friday about like what do you want to see out of the preseason games or whatever, you didn't get to me. I had something, but that's okay. I understand.
My bad.
I understand. I shoot myself in the foot by like being my weird sports agnostic self sometimes.
Well, I thought maybe you would say like, I want to see LeBron lose a game,
Right.
based on your typical
I understand
responses.
who I am. That's fine.
This is one of those instances where I don't think anybody was in the wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just as surprised as you are to know that Beards has a look ahead sort of thought.
I want to finally see a 3-2 game that I was predicting all of last year. That's what I want to see. But anyway, go ahead. What would have been your actual response?
Mine was going to be the wide receiver group because it's outside of the defensive backfield. It's the one that's probably gone through the most changes, and it's not just Tyreek that you were losing. It's Demarcus Robinson, who the Raiders just released. It's Byron Pringle.
How about that, by the way?
Yeah, I want to talk about that here in a second.
I mean, they weren't exceptional, but they were guys that had been around for a while, and you could at least rely on them to some degree. And now they've got Juju and MVS and Sky and new guys that are coming in that aren't used to the system. And just seeing these guys, because like the offense is the most important part of the Chiefs. Like as much as the defense improved and it needed to improve, they need to be able to put up points because that's what this team is known for.
Because it's going to be MVS, and then after that, Sky Moore and Justin Watson. Reese Fountain.
Yeah. Which again, hey, if that means more Fountain and more Watson right now, maybe Josh Gordon gets out there earlier. But I think that ship has largely sailed. It's certainly no longer attached to the dock.
Like if it's not Reese Fountain and Justin Watson as the 5th and 6th, if they keep 6 receivers and it's Juju, MVS, McCole, Sky Moore, if it's not both Reese and Justin Watson, it would maybe be Gordon. But after that, like, who even has a chance?
Yeah.
Like, Cornell Powell dropped the damn football. Yeah. Like, you can't do that, man. Like, if you're trying to make the squad, you were on practice squad last year, there is really nothing that stands out about your game. I was excited about Cornell Powell, honestly, because of what he did in the championship game. And he roasted who was the defensive back from Ohio State, and he was just overpowering, and he was punishing guys. You're like, wow, this is a wide receiver. This guy, in that game, I was like, he looks like Anquan Bolden at the college level in how big he was, the size, he was catching everything. That was great. I liked the draft pick. Didn't work out. It's 5th rounder. They didn't take him in the 1st round. Didn't work out. Practice squad, see what you have the next year. Clearly, there's nothing special going on, and he drops the first pass thrown to him in the preseason. Sorry, but, you're working from well behind. Jarian Ely is a guy who was an undrafted free agent that's moving from running back to wide receiver. That's probably a guy they might want to see make it on the practice squad. Corey Coleman, been there, done that, had opportunities, move on. Josh Gordon, Aaron Parker and Devin Gray would be the guys after that. And they could walk in here right now and say, I'm Aaron Parker and I'm Devin Gray, and I would go, I didn't even know you were on the Chiefs, guys. So
you an intern or what's the
welcome?
Kind of.
So can I help? It's sales is on that side.
Right.
It's on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
Just ring the bell there. Ding ding. Just do that. You know, sort of like Hector and Salamanca and Better Call Saul. Just ding 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 ding.
It's in Breaking
ding.
Bad. It's the same character that does that Breaking Bad.
Reading just hitting the bell over and over and over.
Still haven't seen Better Call Saul.
But it's like Josh Gordon, that's it. Yeah. So it's an opportunity without Juju and McCole Hardman that the top 4 receivers are guys that you could be as the see as the fourth, fifth, and sixth receivers.
Right.
Sky Moore, Watson, Reese Fountain. Because I would much rather see Reese Fountain on the team than Josh Gordon.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure Dave Tobe agrees with you, and I think Andy Reid might, Eric Bieniemy might.
Yeah, but who disagrees from what we've seen from those guys? And I know Josh Gordon kept getting starts, kept starting and kept starting and kept starting. But it's like, what was he doing that showed that? Oh, he caught a touchdown. That honestly, Brisco, I think you could have had that touchdown.
It would have been my best chance. The previous tweet about how I would be killed if I was hit by a defender on an NFL carry, that remains true. Josh Gordon just didn't get touched on that touchdown, which, hey, that's the way to do it. My guess, and I'm fully guessing, but my guess for Josh Gordon last year was that he, 1, knew how to be a professional wide receiver, and 2, that the Chiefs believed there was something else from him physically that he wasn't, or maybe it was even just in the offense, but there was something where they thought, hey, one full off season next year, we're going to get the payoff of Josh Gordon. But at the very least, I think they could trust him to know what it meant to be on an NFL field. But you also could have certainly said that about everybody else they were still trotting out there, from Robinson to Byron Pringle and Marcus Kemp or whoever it may be. So also, the receiver room was just thinner last year, which I think that's the reason I was so excited to mention Demarcus Robinson.
Right.
Is for that point, which is, I thought he was going to be – I thought there was a better chance he would start for the Raiders than miss the cut. And they've invested in the position a little bit with some younger guys and some more noteworthy traits than Demarcus Robinson was bringing to the table.
He didn't make it past 85.
And I do think that there is an amount of – you would rather get cut in the first cut down when 32 teams are cutting 5 guys than when 32 teams are cutting all the way down to 52. Maybe Robinson will get a workout somewhere else. But I was very surprised to see the Raiders be like, nope, we're good. We've seen enough.
But the Raiders aren't keeping only 4 receivers.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think this is noteworthy still.
They go out and trade for Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow returning, and they sign Demarcus Robinson, Keelan Cole, and Mac Hollins. And it's like those 3 guys are going to be competing for, the number 3 targets after Adams and Renfrow. And he doesn't make it past the first cut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't competing for only 1 spot on the team. The Raiders had 2 guys. And then it was, what are they going to do after that, after Devontae Adams? Well, let's bring in Robinson and Mac Hollins and Keelan Cole, guys who have been around a little bit, guys that have played in different systems. Let's
I was
bring
thinking
them in.
they had drafted somebody in the mid-rounds. They didn't. They did not have very many picks. They drafted 2 running backs and a bunch of defenders. That was what they did after their first pick. I mean, yeah, it is. They reformed that group with other guys in a similar realm, and they clearly were most confident in letting Robinson walk.
Here are the receivers on the Raiders roster after Adams, Renfrow, Keelan Cole, and Mac Hollins, now that Demarcus Robinson has been released. Tyron Johnson, Dylan Stoner, Isaiah Zuber, Chris Lacey, DJ Turner, and Justin Hall.
Dylan what now?
That'd be Dylan Stoner.
Okay.
Right, man. It's... Throw me the ball, Carr. You drive everywhere is his last name. Did you invent that? It's cool, man. I met a guy named Jeffrey Bike, and he...
Is he played by Sean Penn?
Great grandfather.
That was Sean Penn, right?
Been a bicycle, man. All right, Hamilton.
This is my first time being in the same room as Jason's impression of a high person, and I forgot I was also doing a radio show here, man. I was just
I have no idea.
I was just kind of enjoying it.
I haven't snorted pot in a while. Sorry.
I understand.
It was Sean Penn. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah.
You
got to shoot up some dope.
If you need any extra syringes or anything, I do have some for my diabetes purposes. If you need to inject some weed, you just let me know.
Whatever, mainline that 1 weed I would like to buy from you. One weed.
We're gonna make Jason cooler.
But
somehow,
to the
somehow.
DeMarcus Robinson point, and this is where it goes into the, okay, they lose Tyreek Hill, but can they be a better wide receiver room if all the guys are healthy than what they were last year with Tyreek Hill? Yes, game changer Tyreek Hill. Changes the way defenses prepare and go up against the Chiefs. Granted, stipulated, agreed. But last year, DeMarcus Robinson was 4th in targets, 4th in receptions, and 4th in yards of wide receivers only, okay? So you're like, oh, okay, well, wide receiver, that'd be like the 5th guy, right? Right. But he played the most snaps after Tyreek Hill. The 2nd most snaps of a wide receiver ended up with the 4th most targets, 4th most receptions, and the 4th most yards. In 2020, he had the 3rd most targets, number 2 of wide receivers behind Tyreek Hill in receptions, and number 3 in yards.
Keeps going backwards.
Hey!
And in 2019, it was 3rd in targets, 3rd in receptions, 4th in yards. But the issue this last year is that it was Tyreek Hill in terms of snap percentage and snap counts. From the Chiefs' perspective, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and Blameyer, Tyreek Hill, DeMarcus Robinson in snaps. Then McCole Hardman, then Byron Pringle. He didn't make the first cut from the Raiders. So when we talk about are the Chiefs maybe better as an overall depth wide receiving group than what they were last year, even with Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
I think this is part of the conversation that, I mean, DeMarcus Robinson had the 2nd most number of snaps of wide receivers last year.
There is no question in my mind that the Chiefs are better at their number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receiver spots.
Right.
It's just how does that difference stack up with and this is no offense to whoever you want to make the number 1 receiver, but there was never a doubt who the previous number 1 receiver was. What is the downgrade from 1 to 1 that is offset, or is it offset by the upgrade throughout the rest of the depth chart? And that's a question that we have gotten a lot of mileage on out of this offseason, and that we might not really know until January or February. But it's going to be fun to find out. Like, I'm genuinely excited to see that.
But I think as of this morning, we have more information than we did yesterday to that answer with DeMarcus Robinson being released by the Raiders.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a Lonnie Johnson type deal that they're like, look, you're on the fringe here. We'll let you go. You can get a job somewhere else. But again, they're not keeping 4.
Right.
And they're not only keeping 4 wide receivers, and they didn't draft any wide receivers. So like you were talking about, with Lonnie Johnson, the Chiefs have a Fab 5.
Yeah.
5 new defensive backs that they drafted. And then they also undrafted free agent signed and then traded for Lonnie Johnson. And oh, by the way, they already had 2 on the roster in L'Jarius Sneed and Rashad Fenton that aren't going anywhere. So at that point, you're like, yeah, Lonnie Johnson is fighting for one of the last spots, and he might be the odd man looking in already. Works again. Adams, Renfro, Keelan Cole, Mac Hollins, and then who?
And if any of those guys you just mentioned goes down with an injury tomorrow, which is a thing that can still happen. We are still a ways away. Like, I think the Chiefs were pretty confident in whoever their 4th and 5th corners were to let Lonnie Johnson go early. Or he was at 6 or 7 on their list. To let DeMarcus Robinson go, I do think there's the Lonnie Johnson, hey, you're a vet. We're going to try to get you out there in front of some other teams sooner rather than later. I think there's something to that. But also, if he was right on the cusp, he would probably still be on the roster right now, if for no other reason than his insurance policy.
It's just interesting that the number 2 in snaps last year at wide receiver didn't
not on
make
a
it
roster on August 17th.
past the first cut from 90 to 85 by the Raiders. So whoever number 1 is, if number 1 is 65% of Tyreek Hill, so now you're 35% down. Can number 2 be 20% better than what last year's number 2 was? Can number 3 be 15% better than what last year's number 3 was? Can number 4 be 20% better than what last year's number 4 was? Now you're at 115%. So you're better. And that's with it being 65% of Tyreek Hill. Hopefully Juju or McCole Hardman or MVS, whoever is number 1, is closer than that. But we'll find out. They also have to stay healthy, too. That was one of the other things we talked about with Juju, is health. Well, we'll see moving forward because he's already got a sore knee and McCole Hardman with a groin, and it'll be an interesting wide receiver group coming up on Saturday. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So check your bags. Make sure you've declared your sausage. That's my lesson of the week.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, wrapping up this hour, we'll talk with Mick Shaffer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41. He's the sports director. Talk with him, Chiefs camp going on today. One more day in St. Joe. Then they break camp, get ready for the Commanders on Saturday, and return to Kansas City for the rest of the preseason.
Some late nights for Steve Spagnuolo right now, cooking up in the lab, preparing for Carson Wentz to come to town. Can't be resting well right now.
Well, you know what? There's going to be a lot of eyes on Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday because of the whole fantasy and controversy going on with Antonio Gibson right now of, is Antonio Gibson going to be the starting running back? He fumbled. They pulled him out of the game. Robinson from Alabama was a third-round draft pick. Now at practice today, Antonio Gibson is returning kicks and punts. Wow.
Breaking.
You're home.
You're in the zone.
Nonstop. Right hand, left hand, nonstop, Josh.
With Jason Anderson.
At the time, it is the only thing I want to do.
Yeah.
The next day, I 100% regret it every time.
Yeah.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, and Mick Shaffer. He's presented by Kona Big Wave. Take a little break and single task tonight with a Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing Company. What's up, Mick? How you doing, man?
So,
Good
boys,
to
how are
see you.
Good to be seen. Good to be here. Happy Wednesday.
Were you at training camp today, too?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I thought you were. I thought I heard a Mick Shaffer question, and I was like, well, he said Monday was his last day at camp, but maybe they sent him up, and he's still going to be back by one.
Really well phrased. Yeah. Was it a good question?
No, it was. Talk about how happy you are.
Yeah,
it was odd. It was like, oh, there's Mick.
How do you football so good?
Yeah. It was actually about the playing on the dirt in Oakland against the Raiders. You know what? It was actually about the Houston Astros cheating scandal. And Lebo was like, damn it, you took my question, you son of a gun.
It was about the big rivalry they have with the Commanders and how it's rivalry week.
Here's my take, guys. Tell me if this is too extreme. I think Carson Wentz being the quarterback in the first year of a team called the Washington Commanders in these uniforms that they have now, I think might be the worst single vibe in NFL history. I think that might be the least swaggy introduction you can have as a newly named franchise.
You know what this game is, and it doesn't count because it's preseason, but it is the NFL version of the college football team that has a bye game against a lower opponent. You're like, this team is like, this quarterback, the uniforms are weird, and it's the Commanders, and it's just come in and just get the win. I mean, that's what it feels like. This smaller FCS school.
This should be the President's Cup because it's the Commanders and Chiefs.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
They'd be the
dun,
Commander-in-Chief.
dun, dun, dun,
Wow,
dun,
I
dun,
like
dun,
that.
dun, dun. Yeah. The Commanders and Chiefs.
They'll play once every 8 years. Yes. They don't have to move the trophy very often. And it all lays in the hands of Carson Wentz
There's
and
a
Dustin
Democrat
Crum.
in the White House, right? They'll play in Kansas City. Republican, they'll play in D.C.
There you go. It's just it's like the Governor's Cup. You're going back and you get to keep the thing.
President's Cup.
Right? Yeah, you get to keep the. Whatever happened to that with the Chiefs and Rams? Why don't they do that anymore?
I feel like he was on the Rams side. They really didn't hold up their the bargain of staying
They just
in state.
stopped playing it. Like, no, we're not even going to play it anymore.
No.
What's our second place worst possible? I'm sticking with the worst vibes in NFL history. I would like to get at least one more nominee.
I mean, like
of just like
on
unsalvageable.
field, or does like OJ count as a vibe?
No,
Why did I think of OJ too? Like,
Yeah,
I
right?
really thought OJ coming back and playing in a game, like an old timers game versus the Chiefs this weekend. I don't know why I thought that, but we
make the
apparently
game
did the same thing.
more interesting. No, I'm just thinking about like the worst aesthetic in NFL history. I think it might be Carson Wentz quarterbacking the Washington Commanders. Like, I think that is what I am going all in on right now to see if there is a hand in recent NFL history you can beat me
I had
with.
an NBA suggestion, of course.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Wow. It's like Nate Ducati with soccer.
Actually, it's this year. It's the Utah Jazz trading away Rudy Gobert and then Donovan Mitchell probably going in also with those terrible jerseys they've got.
But I think the NBA changes uniforms more often and moves superstars
But they
more
changed
often.
their main jerseys.
No, I know. I just think you'll find other instances of that through NBA history than you will in NFL history.
I don't know who the opponent was, but anytime over the last 3 years when the Jags have been involved in a color rush game.
Yeah,
on Thursday night, those color rush
yellow
games,
ones,
those bright jerseys that was like, oh, here's the most color. When the Chiefs would go red on red, which is an abomination. So Jags anytime over the last few years against another team in a color rush.
Half and half helmets, quarterbacked by Blake Bortles.
Oh.
That is a good nomination. We're playing the same game now. I would need to see Carson Wentz take the field before I can formally make a ruling, but all yellow Blake Bortles for the Jacksonville Jags is a very good one.
Here's the problem. You immediately want to go to some sort of Detroit Lions example, but the Lions have great uniforms.
They do.
And they don't mess
All-time
around.
uniforms.
Yeah.
They don't mess around.
And like
with it.
Matt Stafford in a Lions uniform,
Yeah, just
pretty
fine.
good vibes there.
Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just not very good.
Did Mason Rudolph instead of Big Ben ever play in the prison Steelers jerseys that they would wear?
Oh, I liked those a little bit.
They were
Bumblebee jerseys?
Yeah, they were perfect for Big Ben.
Yes.
But like for another quarterback, not Big Ben.
No, that's fair.
What about baseball example? Eric Hosmer in those Lisa, what's her name? Just the 80s rad uniforms they had a couple weeks ago. Do you see those?
The San Diego ones?
Yeah, the Padres.
Lisa,
Yeah,
is it Lisa Frank?
Yeah,
Is what
Lisa
I want to
Frank.
say?
Yes.
I almost ordered specifically an Eric Hosmer one of
Where
those.
it's just like a splash of green paint, splash of pink, splash of yellow.
I love those jerseys. Unsurprisingly.
Can I say anytime the Royals had the vest jerseys that had like the different colored sleeves?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any of those ever? They were talking to Justin Morneau maybe last night, the night before, I can't remember, and they showed a highlight of I can't remember who I almost said Ozzy Albies, but it was some random pitcher back in the day that gave up a home run to Morneau, and it was in the white jersey with the blue sleeves, and I was like, oh, that is awful. Like the black and the gray ones, right? Or the black, those were bad. Like even the ones where it was like, at least they're better than the worst ones. Even that was like, God, atrocious jerseys, man. So that just happened to be on the top of my mind. Like those jerseys, yes, I will, and those bad Royals teams at the same time. Not only were they a bad team, but you had to watch a bad aesthetic to that as well.
I always remember the were they Back to the Future uniforms with them and the Mariners, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the worst Ken Griffey ever looked.
He had to wear his hat backwards, though,
Yeah.
and that does count for
Yeah.
something. That counts for a little bit of some. Turn ahead the clock.
Turn ahead the clock.
I remember
that what it was?
Yes,
It was,
that's what it was called. It was absolutely called Turn Ahead the Clock. They had like an eighth of a sleeve on the jerseys. Like it wasn't fully sleeveless.
I don't remember seeing these at all, but I'm looking at them now, and they are a hoot.
It was like the Mercury Rockies. It was like, you're going to be playing games on Mercury in 30 years? Is that the point here?
They did this in 2018 as well.
Yeah, they brought him back, I think, as a joke for a game.
I don't hate the helmets, but the jerseys aren't good.
Johnny Damon in a Royals Turn Ahead the Clock jersey might be the worst vibe in Kansas City professional sports history.
You got to find somebody worse than Johnny Damon. He was a good baseball player.
And
there's
you're
plenty
right.
of examples
Absolutely.
on those Royals teams.
That's absolutely true. I think it makes me saddest to see Johnny Damon because I don't feel like
What year
it
was
looks like
it?
a minor league.
What year was?
What'd you
2000?
say? Beards. It feels like a turn of the millennium idea.
The original ones?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Man, I just don't remember that at all.
How do you not remember that?
The Mercury Mets is what we're rocking with here. Barry Bonds, just a big interlocked SF.
1998.
Yeah,
I mean,
makes a lot of sense.
Cool. What did Chili Davis look like in those?
Pretty good, I bet.
Cold.
I bet. Did he?
You say
Did he-
cold?
Did he look
beards?
cold?
I did.
Is that what it was?
This Diamondbacks one kind of works actually. So that's
Was
victory.
was Jose Offerman really rocking those?
He really was.
Was he really looking good? Oh man, what a team, huh? What a team. So a scare out at training camp today.
Yeah.
Couple of scares in training camp. Chris Jones started it off with after individual workouts, leaving practice on a cart in the front seat. We find out he had a sore back. Okay, that's good. And
I
then-
love how the position of the cart is always
matters.
What seat, and it does. It actually matters.
Was it 2 years ago that that somebody got carted up the hill, and we had a long discussion about the fact that this guy was in the front seat and he was not in the back seat?
Which is good.
And-
Red shotgun, it's better.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you're driving the car too, I mean, heck, you're almost completely
right.
healthy.
Absolutely, yes. Unless your left leg is sticking out in an air cast and the left on the other side, then it's like, well, he's driving the cart, but good news, bad news. He is driving the cart. Bad news is his left leg is being wrapped with sticks and twigs and some twine just to keep it apparently in place. They didn't have enough actual medical cast or air cast, or they just had to use twigs and sticks and balsa wood. That doesn't seem like it would be good. Doesn't seem like that would work out well. But yes, front seat for Chris Jones, sore back. And then the big scare was McCole Hardman goes up for the football, comes down awkwardly. They say he's limping to the tent with a left leg injury, and then he rides the cart up the hill, also in the front seat. But that is a groin injury. So not too often do you go, oh, thank goodness it's a groin injury, and he may only be out 2 weeks. It's like in training camp. But during training camp, man, right now, if you say this guy got hurt and he's only out 2 weeks, sign me up. Right now, sign me up.
Yeah, because we're almost still 4 weeks away from the season.
25 days from now. So that would still give you 11 days to come back and get ready to go if you were to miss that. Now, not the whole team, obviously, but, anytime something like that happens. Because the wide receiving group is the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. That's what will make this wide receiving room skill position better or as good as last year. McCole Hardman's part of that. Juju's part of that. Sky, MVS, et cetera, part of it. So,
hopefully,
scare diverted
is also averted, and then
scare averted.
I was there for the Mahomes.
I do
trip
want
to
to
injury
divert
tent.
the conversation to positive stuff.
Which was
Derek Anderson in a Cardinals uniform, pretty bad
Still going.
vibes. Kyle Orton in the brown and yellow Broncos throwbacks, right up there.
Broncos brown and yellow? Like that looked like the Steelers.
It's the 50-year AFL throwback sort of deal.
You know what?
I like the Steelers. I like that look there.
I do too.
I like the color rush. The Chiefs red on red too.
I don't like the red on red very much.
It's terrible.
White on white, I enjoy. I kind of like the Stormtrooper look a little bit.
The white. I'm good with the white on white. It's not even the record of the Chiefs being bad when they wear those jerseys. It's that they look bad while also losing. But it's the looking bad that, if we're talking about jerseys specifically, that bothers me.
Yeah,
it's not
like,
a good look.
It always reminds me of my kids when they're like 4th, 5th grade, dressing themselves to go to school.
Oh yeah, dude.
Red shirt, red short. Why? It's red shirt and red shorts. Like that. Not the same shade of red. They don't match. I don't care. It's red on red. It matches.
My son dressed himself yesterday, and I'm like, I'm letting it go. He had a black and gold Mizzou shirt, blue and dark blue Nike shorts.
Goes together.
And his new red tennis shoes.
Okay.
And I was like,
let's go.
Do what you do, man. You know it. You own it. You own it, man. Be you.
All you gotta
dress
do
how
is
you
own
want
it.
to dress.
Just all you gotta do is own it. Just own it, and you're fine.
He didn't think anything of it. He came down. I looked at him. Kind of sized him up and down. All right. That's what, there are plenty of times where I'm like, let's go change. Let's go change clothes, buddy. Okay, those are shorts from 2 years ago. Okay, you're not practicing out at training camp here with some of these guys with the shells on. Okay, you need to maybe wear some looser shorts there, buddy. All right, you're not getting ready to ride in the Tour de France. I don't think we need to wear that. All right, but that's sort of like, do what you do, man. Go ahead and do it. It's all good, man. Mick Shaffer hanging out with us. Your reaction to DeMarcus Robinson being cut by the Raiders?
I didn't know until you were driving in. He's one of the first 5 then.
Yeah.
I think it's probably, like you said, a Lonnie Johnson type deal. They do that a lot. And, let those veterans go, give them more time to latch on to another team. But, yeah, I mean, who are going to be their top 5 or 6 receivers?
I know who
Did you
their
run
top
them
4
down?
is. Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and then they signed Keelan Cole and Mac Hollins along with DeMarcus Robinson. Keelan Cole was with the Jets last year, had 28 receptions, and Mac Hollins was with Miami, and he had 14 receptions.
I would have put Robinson ahead of those two.
The talk when he signed was that he was going to be competing with a couple of other guys for the number 3 wide receiver spot with the Raiders after Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. I mean, Hunter Renfrow had 100 receptions last year. So he's going to lose a lot of those to Devontae Adams. But, okay, you got Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and then who? Well, they signed a number of guys to fill in. They didn't draft anybody, but you got Robinson, Cole, and Hollins, and somebody figure it out. That's what's the surprising part is that Lonnie Johnson being let go because he's a veteran and go latch on somewhere else is the Chiefs drafted 5 quarterbacks. I mean, and then, brought some in and undrafted free agents and things like that.
And had plenty left over in Snead, in Thornhill, and other guys.
The Raiders signed 2 guys, not named DeMarcus Robinson, that combined for 42 receptions last year. 2 guys.
What did D-Rob have? Not quite that many. Maybe around that many.
I think he had like 30 or something like that last year, which is also an indictment on the fact that he was in the position he was with this team because he had the second most number of snaps out of the wide receivers.
Still crazy.
Tyreek Hill and then DeMarcus Robinson. He had 25 receptions. So 25 last year for 264.
Listen,
the year before that, he had 45.
Is the tide, right? Receivers are the boats, right? They all rise.
That's great.
And so, in the end, we probably shouldn't be surprised about that. And anybody fretting about Tyreek Hill, that might put their mind more at ease.
Maybe the Raiders were like, look, man, we already have Derek Carr throwing short passes. We can't have you running backwards, too. Right?
Yes.
We're already only completing 4-yard passes. We can't make them 2. Okay, just turn and get up the field. Say what? Turn and get up the field. You're going to have to, can you draw this? I'm a visual learner. Can you show me what you're talking? I played in Kansas City. It's a show me state. I need you to show me this. I'm from Kansas. You're going to have to sunflower me.
Speaking of Mick,
why
when
do we
was
ever
the last,
say that? Why do we ever say?
When was the last time you
So
accidentally
stupid.
saw nudity on the internet, Mick?
Yeah, that's
Like, it found you. Yeah.
Nobody heard that conversation earlier when I was just a jarring reaction from Twitter.
Mick was searching Twitter for something innocuous, and then all of a sudden something came up.
Yeah.
On the search.
Sure, it's happened.
Happens to me often enough now that I've changed my Twitter usage habits when I'm searching for something.
Well, I'm going to now.
I know, but but it's hard to know until you made your first mistake.
So earlier in the show, we were talking about Chris Jones, getting a ride up the hill and hadn't been in the team part of it. I'm like, well, at that time we didn't know was he going to return. It was just like, okay, he went up the hill. All right, maybe he's going to come back down. And I had mentioned that there was a player yesterday that left practice, and the media was like, he's left practice, what's going on? And then like 10 minutes later, he returned to practice. And it was like, okay, he's back at practice. And then he tweeted that after practice and said, yeah, I had to go pee. And so it was Matthew Judon. For whatever reason, I thought it was Bud Dupree. So I'm like, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Bud Dupree. So I go to Twitter, and I type in training camp, practice, had to pee. For whatever reason, training camp, practice, and had to were eliminated, and I immediately saw Twitter videos of like, why in the hell would they be on Twitter? So that was like, what the heck? So then back. I was like, Chris Berman, back. And then
his reaction made me think that he had seen a decapitation. Like it was whatever it was. Well, he was not prepared.
That was only some accounts on Twitter.
But
they've got some policing to do. There's some accounts.
Yeah, that was only half of it though. That was the first part of it. Then. Again, thinking that it was Bud Dupree.
Oh, you tried again.
I typed in just Dupree. Apparently, there is a fella named Dupree
in the adult film industry
who works in a different industry of entertainment.
It's all the same,
And that's immediately, but I'm like, what the? And then that was the jarring one. If I was even more Chris Berman, because, we got this camera right here in the commercial breaks, and I'm like, no, that is not, where's the firewall, Chad? I mean, come on. We need to police ourselves here. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how or why would, if I Google searched that, okay, maybe understandable. Why would that come up and be on Twitter?
Because. That's the answer I gave earlier. Because.
So it's like a parent talking to the kid. Why? Because I said so.
Because it's the internet.
Because.
Yeah, that's the full answer is because it's the internet.
Well, I get it's the internet, but Twitter isn't the platform. Twitter's the platform for yelling and screaming about politics and sports and being just generally bad people.
Yes.
Not that.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of policing to do. There's a lot more of that where that came from.
Yeah, it was.
I'm told.
It was, Josh, can we rewind the show and go back to
the video footage? Yeah,
video footage?
It would have been over your shoulder, so it wouldn't have been as good as my angle. But man,
you would have seen me my
like
visceral reaction of like,
yeah,
like what just happened? Did somebody bite him? Did something bite him? Did they just?
I can't wait to see the ads that start popping up on your web pages.
Your algorithm is screwed, man.
Why can't it just be about Bud Dupree? Why can't it be you, me, and Dupree? Why can't it be Owen Wilson? Can't it be something other than...
Wow.
Wow. Twitter, all right. It's so
stupid, man.
Well, you're going to have to show me that page now.
It's Missouri.
Well, we're in
after all.
Kansas now. I'm going to have to sunflower that page.
Just sunflower it
We're
to
going to have
them.
to sunflower this. All right, well, we'll take a timeout and we'll do shot clock
segment
reviews.
down.
Oh, boy.
Shot clock. I know one of my shot clock reviews.
I know one. I gotta find another.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what one of my shot clock reviews
Open
is
up
going
Twitter.
to be.
You'll
grinds my gears.
There'll be a shot right there, right in front of
You
you.
just Google search shot clock reviews. Nope, can't do that either. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Enjoy the rest of the day off. Thank you,
I
sir.
won't, because I'm going home to my family.
What a great dad.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, hanging out on a Wednesday edition of The Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, Mick Shaffer. He's presented by Kona Big Wave. Thank you to Sam Monson, who in the previous hour, we talked with him from Pro Football Focus.
Oh, what's he like? I follow him on the Twitter. I like him on the Twitter.
I love talking with Sam Monson because he's originally from Ireland. And so as he's talking, you'll hear little bits and pieces of the Irish accent come out.
But it's mostly an American
yes,
accent?
It's
Okay.
mostly American. It's like it's not like like Rory in his Northern Ireland accent that like he's starting to almost go out of his way to almost lose the accent so he can be more universal and not have like, oh, he's clearly from Ireland. But he can't help himself at times, Rory, because he'll be like, well, it was on my approach shot when I shot it right in the middle of the green. Like just randomly. Well, what did you use? Well, it was a 3-wood on the tee, but then I used a 3-iron. just randomly, just like one word that he can't help himself that just really is as Irish as it gets. Green. It wasn't like that with Sam Monson. It was more subtle throughout the entire interview. I love talking to him because he's good, informative, opinionated, and you get a hint of Irish.
Show needs a sprinkle of international flair every once in a while.
That's right. They're always after me, Lucky Charms. He always ends every answer with that. Well, I think the Chiefs' offense this year, it's going to be different. We'll see how it goes without Tyreek Hill, but I think it could still be really good. They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
The luck of the Irish.
Now, Beards, which part did you think Jason shifted from humorous to offensive? Where did you have it pivoting from enjoying our guest to racially insensitive?
Is that what it was?
Where was your cutoff?
Yes.
Wait.
Right.
So Irish is a race? If you're from
It's a
Ireland,
nationality.
Seems like a
I
country
guess?
to me.
I don't know.
Seems like an accent
You
to
can
me.
be you can be Irish. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just trying to involve Beards in the hour, and Beards told me to go to hell. He was enjoying his silence. Sorry, Beards. I forgot that whenever you moved to middays, you took the oath of silence like a monk.
Right.
That's okay.
Thank you, Wallflower. Yeah. Sorry. Are you not going to use the soap Irish Spring?
We're doing.
You feel like there are. You know what?
I'm appropriating their soap.
There are other seasons to Irish. It's not just about the spring.
That's a great point.
I'm just saying.
I hear it's lovely in the
because
fall,
mainly
winter,
there
and
it's all about
summer.
Irish fall because it kind of feels like that 12 months out of the year. Yeah. I've been told I would love to go there. Seems like it's a beautiful place.
I'm not
to be.
sure you'll be invited anymore.
Why not? They don't have everybody's got Lucky Charms around their house and things you keep, like a rabbit's foot or something like that. Like, oh, my grandfather gave me this coin. It's a Lucky Charm. Everybody's got those.
You're fine.
Plus, oh, I know that.
What does that have to do with it?
Plus, Austin Powers, because they're Lucky Charms. Austin Powers with the Irish henchman with Austin Powers and Dr. Evil that he was he collects a charm from every one of his victims.
That's right.
And they're trying to arrest him. They're always after me, Lucky Charms.
It went a long way for that joke.
They really did. And I still think of it to this day. I love it. It's a television commercial with the kids and it's cereal, but I'm having candy.
I'm sorry I asked now how was Sam Munson, because that's what started this.
He was great.
Down this road.
Sam was great.
There's your answer.
Your answer is it's complicated.
If you didn't hear it on the podcast, guess what you missed? Go check it out and listen in. And he weighs in on the Chiefs' offense and the wide receiving room and George Karlaftis in his first game and whether the Chiefs have an advantage early in the season because teams don't know what the difference the Chiefs' offense will be. Like, it's going to be different, but how is it going to be different? Talked about the AFC West and a lot of stuff to get into. So we tried the shot clock last week. It didn't work, so we're not going to do it anymore.
That's fine. That's fine. If we can just put you on a 24-second shot clock at any point ever, I'll be happy. So,
yes.
I mean,
so we're going to try it again. We're going to give it a go.
Let's give it one more try.
One more
try. I mean, we're doing it again forever. Wednesdays in perpetuity. We'll never stop.
One more again. We'll try it yet again. So we each go around twice.
Here's the concept. Everybody's got 2 topics that they can review, but you got to do it in 24 seconds or less. You will begin. You will say what you're reviewing. The clock will start. You'll hear that, and then at the buzzer, you've got you can collect the ball can be in the air. It's got to be out of your hand at the buzzer. And then you give it a score on a scale of 1 to 10.
Also, I'll point out real quick, the NBA actually released the last 2-minute report about last week's shot clock reviews.
Oh, yeah, let's go to that.
It says here that both Mick Shaffer and Jason Anderson should have been whistled for shot clock violations on both of their reviews last week. They made a point of emphasis for this week then that if anybody goes over, I turn their mic off.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
all
you
right.
can still take a shot after the shot clock goes off.
Here's the thing.
Just a turnover.
Wisconsin played Duke in the national championship in 15 because they didn't have a Nigel Hayes shot clock violation. It happens.
So can I just run fast break here and just get my takes? Texas sucks, and just let the other 23 seconds roll off the clock.
I think
that's up to you. That's up to how you are willing to treat the show.
I actually think every week you should have a Texas sucks take. Since you had one last week,
That's
the
so
only
many.
way that you can continue this is if it's today, and then you just somehow it's why UT sucks.
Somehow they weren't in the AP poll, so that's not grinding my gears.
How?
I don't know.
They didn't get a first place vote in the AP?
They did. They got several first place votes, a lot of last place votes. They ended up like 30th.
Also receiving votes. Also receiving first place
What's
votes.
ever happened? Like a receiving votes got a first place vote.
Also receiving votes with the number of points and then a parentheses. How many first place votes they got?
2.
In parentheses. Virginia Tech, 230 points.
Yes, love it. Just some Homer like.
That would be great,
beat
man.
guys.
That would be awesome. All right, so we start in the shot clock with you, Josh.
Oh, Beard, why don't you open it today? I want
You want me to open it?
I want you to
Wow.
open it today. You're really here to lock down the rules, and I trust you to kind of be the Scott Foster of this show. I feel like you should.
I don't want to be Scott Foster.
I feel like
I
you
don't
should.
want to be Scott Foster.
I feel like you should open it up, Referee Foster. What's your first shot clock review?
My first one is something I saw a couple weeks ago, but I'll do it. I saw The Shining for the first time.
Perfect.
I'm not
Were
much
you
of a horror
disappointed?
movie person, but one of the movies that I'd like to have seen was The Shining. So I had that on my list. I was finally able to watch it. It's pretty good. I've never seen any other Stephen King thing except for Maximum Overdrive, which is hilarious.
Awesome show.
It's great. I love a slow burn of a movie or a show, and that was great for me. Shelley Duvall's not great, but like past we know more about that now. 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Olive oil.
You said you were you disappointed by it, Mick, when you saw The Shining?
I saw it later. Listen, most shows, like movies from like the 70s and even 80s, if you haven't seen it, you hear all these great reviews. You go back, you're like, okay.
It was good.
Because we make movies better now. We just flat out do.
Yeah.
They're a lot longer and slower, and we're better. Back then, we're better now. But Maximum Overdrive is a fantastic film.
incredible.
It used to scare me as like a 10-year-old. Now you go back and watch it. Emilio Estevez. Have you not seen it?
I haven't
Emilio
seen it,
Estevez.
no.
The machines take over, like cars.
Because like a comet passes by the Earth.
Yeah, cars.
That's all it takes?
Lawnmowers. A guy gets run over by his own lawnmower.
Vending
There's-
machines, they start shooting Coke
they
cans
shoot-
at people.
Right, and like killing people. And like there's remember the steamroller that went through the Little League game and took out the right fielder? I do.
No.
I'll put it this way. I think he wrote the movie as well.
Stephen
No,
King.
Stephen King.
He directed the
That's
movie
what it was.
himself.
He directed it.
The
And
right fielder?
Specifically, his favorite band is AC/DC, and that is the soundtrack that they used for it for a horror movie was AC/DC. It's
All right.
excellently terrible.
What was the
It is
motivation for that?
excellently
I want to.
Cocaine.
I
The
want to.
cars take over.
I want to write and direct a movie where a steamroller takes out a right
I'm
fielder.
so
in a Little
tired
League
of
game.
automobile
What do I do?
abuse.
There's a at least it's out there. I don't know if it's true, but there is at least a conversation that Step Brothers was made because they wanted to make a movie with grown men making bunk beds that then fall.
That was the.
That was
it?
like
That
we
was
got to
the
do
spark.
something around
I
this.
believe that.
And then they're like, what if they're let's go write it. Let's write it. Let's noodle. Let's do this thing. And then they get one of the best comedies that I've ever seen.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah. Show's halfway there.
You need to give them like a week off, and they go to a
So far, so
basement
good.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and they watch, find a theater room, and they just watch all regular movies that every other human has watched.
I'll do that. I mean, are we talking like this is like a homework vacation? So as long as you can get that to work where I don't have to burn vacation days on that,
This is like
I'll host Beards
eight
in my
movies a
basement.
day.
Yeah.
For 7 straight days.
That's fine.
We'll give you a list of 56 movies.
That's great. I'm in.
So if
56 feels like
probably
quite
not
a
even
few.
No, it's not enough.
But
so if I would have had the clip played when the contract came out with Kyler Murray,
yeah,
and it was like we had to have the 4 hours or whatever. If I'd
Independent
have
film
had
study.
the clip playing of from Step Brothers going, "That's it, you've left me no choice, no TV for a week." What? You're getting high. It's Shark Week.
Place of prison.
Place of prison. You wouldn't have got that reference. So
nope.
We didn't do it.
No, I don't
Good to know.
think I did.
But that would be great if the Cardinals found Kyler Murray. You leave me no choice, no TV for a week.
That's basically where they're at.
I know Cops doesn't come on till
4. That's right. And you're sweating. I know Cops didn't come on till 4.
All right,
who's up next?
Step Brothers. I'll go next. I know I'm going to lose everybody on this one, which is why I needed Beers to open up somewhere else. But I need to talk at least for 24 seconds about the 3 new Death Cab for Cutie songs.
Oh, okay.
I love that band.
See, here's the thing. Lots of people love that band for a long time, and then maybe they kind of disappeared. Some of the more recent albums I have really, really loved, but I wasn't listening to Death Cab in 2006 or whatever. That my friends were, and I kind of got there late. The 3 new songs, Mick. I'm just talking to you. I can't even look at Jason. 3 new songs rip ass. These 3 songs are incredible. They are all like an evolution, a revitalization of music I thought I stopped liking 5 or 6 years ago. Fully back, 9 out of 10 on the 3 new songs.
Yeah, you were late.
First of all,
you didn't even
rips
get the
ass.
shot.
That's a good term.
When did
That's
that
a
become
positive.
positive?
That's a positive. The Youngs decided that one a while back. We forgot to fill you guys in, but now you know.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
Well, like some
when
of
I
this-
do it in here, after
not the
QT
same.
runs.
It's not the same.
Oh, okay,
That's
different.
That's a bad
Yeah,
deal.
right. No, that's a different. But you know,
It's a
like
bad
you know
deal.
how like. So I don't know if you know about this one, but like sick can also mean cool
Oh yeah, no,
now.
no. All the kids are saying. My son and all his friends say sick
Yeah.
and epic.
Yeah.
Oh
but
my
like,
god, that car is epic.
well, but the epic
Oh,
is always
cool.
big and
Yeah.
good.
Right, I know, but sick is
Sick
like,
is like yeah.
It's like, oh, that's
There was
so
a
sick.
time like in
Epic has
1950
always ripped ass.
in 1955
It's always been sick.
where cool wasn't like kids were saying cool
Yeah,
and
exactly.
parents were rolling their eyes. What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
You mean you're
They should just
cool.
say good.
Cool, really.
Also,
ill. What's ill? Okay.
If we did a Venn diagram of your likes and your likes, I think they would maybe touch like a sliver
Yeah.
would overlap.
The
Maybe
one-
Chiefs.
Football shape.
Chiefs. That's
it would just be a
No, it'd be
football
it.
in the middle.
Sports radio and football. That,
Yeah,
that's
it.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yep.
Everything else is just 2 separate globes.
But
sitting
think
next to
about
each
how
other.
much ground we cover with those 2 globes. I mean, we're covering
Or
a
how
lot
much
of
ground
territory
we
now.
don't cover, but treading water for 4 hours, but not actually covering any ground.
And then Beards is in a 3rd globe that has no crossover with you and a sliver with me, but then he's off doing his own thing, rotating around our planets.
But at least he does that while not offering much on the air.
Exactly.
So that's at least a positive. Mick or
Mick,
Jason?
Mick, why don't we get a shot clock review from you, Mick Shaffer?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah,
Really
what
grinds
is?
your gears.
Not getting to do the feud at the big party last Thursday night. Here we go. That sucked, by
disappointing.
the way. I was so looking forward to all the attention from all those famous people out there and kicking Seren's ass.
Yeah.
And Grunhard and Trent Green. I was psyched up. That's all I thought about. I didn't go eat because I was staying at my table thinking, oh, we're next. Oh, we're next. Oh, we're next. We were never next.
No.
I didn't go get drinks. I'm just kidding. I totally did, but I almost didn't. That was horrible. I've done the math. Next time I'm going to do it, I'll be like 145 years old. 1 out of 10.
It's funny that 4 of the 5 on our team wanted to do the feud.
Yeah.
Who was the 5th that didn't?
0 of the remaining 6 wanted. We're like, yeah, cool. Let's cancel it. Let's be
I
done
think
with this thing.
Lebo wanted to do it in his
Well,
heart, you know?
Lebo
I
would've
think
played-
Lebo really wanted it to be over close to on time, is what I think Lebo wanted more than to do the feud.
There was a lot of yammering up there. There's just a lot of talking.
I know. I apologize.
Were you still there whenever I got up there and kept it tight? Jason and I agreed to ask the coaches 1 question each, then Jason asked 2.
Chad told me to ask him to.
Did he really?
True story.
Well, Chad wasn't in our conversations about keeping it tight.
Well,
and you did radio questions, which in radio, the question is as long as the answer most
I didn't
of the
do a
time,
radio
maybe
question.
longer.
You
Didn't do a radio question.
definitely did a radio question.
I didn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Said you
did a
guys were
radio
1 yard
question.
short of winning a state championship
A lot
5
of
years
context.
ago.
I asked my coach what made his team special.
Yeah, you said talk about your team. Nice job.
Yeah.
Nice
That's
press
what
com-
you need
nice,
at 100 year end.
Nice press
Unfortunate-
conference question.
No, you're right, Jason. I did have a misconception that you rarely have, which is that the guest might like to talk about something a little bit.
Yeah, but that's not a question. That's a request.
What sucks is that
I was requesting.
Talk about your team. Well, there's 11 of us, and we play a sport. What else you want to know?
All right, next, let's go.
Now, what sucked that Mumford & Sons was there too, and they got bumped.
See, that was
They didn't
incredible,
play.
man.
Yeah.
We talked about Mumford & Sons. Jason didn't know who Mumford & Sons were. What is wrong
No, I
with
said
you?
I don't know what songs they do.
The Cave.
The Cave.
Lion
Little
Man.
Lion Man. Lots of
Seems
more
like
songs.
It seems
the
like
Ted
the
Lasso
little Lion
theme,
Man could be in the cave.
The Ted Lasso theme song.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
Marcus
That's him.
Mumford. I think it's just him.
Okay.
Not
Cool.
his sons.
What about Markeith? Is Markeith?
Yeah, it's a common mistake, but he is the third of the
Mark Kevin
of the triplets.
Always get him confused.
Jason, what do you want to review? You got 24 seconds. Well, what's,
All right.
what's grinding your gears? What's filling your soul?
I would like to review inappropriate content on Twitter.
Yes.
So all I was doing was just simply searching for something that happened at training camp, and all of a sudden you get these things that there's no reason that they should be on Twitter. Like if you're going to Google search some stuff, yeah, I get it. A couple of years ago, we Google searched "put something on they ass" for Eddie Kennison. Only it was things about things that were put in. But that's understandable. It's Google. This is Twitter. This is for all of the bad things being yelling at people and awful individuals. It's a 1 out of 10.
You nailed it. 24 seconds, all it takes. Sound a little out of breath, but you're right. Everything you just said was true.
That wasn't out of breath. That was just me, just like, it's just so disappointing. I'm disappointed in Twitter. That's what it is.
That one is on you.
Just
for
disappointed.
still having expectations on Twitter.
I thought they held themselves to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Than that. Just disappointed.
Beards, what's your second shot clock review of the day?
My second was shot clock review, season 4 of Westworld. So I mentioned this a little bit on Monday.
Didn't you do
this? No, I said I was going to do it today. Season 1, excellent. Season 2, really good. Season 3 is fine. Season 4 goes back to season 1 in terms of like it has a mystery that you're kind of more trying to solve, trying to figure out in the world and everything. The acting's still really good. Everything looks great. I'm excited for what they're hoping to do in season 5 if that gets greenlit. I really hope it does because I want to see the show end because that'll be the last season. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It's really good.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Good for you.
I'm going to give you my second review.
Brisco.
Which is these shoes. I
Got some
got my
dudes.
Hey Dude shoes. I got them in, and I make.
My son has the exact same pair. Sorry.
Do you really? That's okay. I'm here to share this time with you. I've got a little pattern on the back because, generally speaking, with the dudes, my concern is that I don't always love my allies. I've started seeing them in public more often. It's like father of 4, father of 3, father of 1, but working on 7. And it's like, okay, these are when I show them the Renee. She went, oh, you got your dad's shoes, and I've been kind of
Nice.
shaking that off since then. But here's the thing: they're comfortable, they breathe. I did a little sock trick, and I can machine wash them. So
You
far,
did the
they're a
sock
strong
trick, didn't
7.5
you?
out of
Well
10.
done.
Hey, all right, that. Close?
Is
Not even
close.
close.
Review it. Put Ray, run it back.
No, that's
I did
absurd.
I got the little sock thing in here.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna try, some with and without the little sock liner.
Those aren't
like
dad
I'm wearing them.
shoes.
Agreed. Thank you.
Air Monarchs are dad shoes. Those are
I
not
think these
dad
are
shoes.
Cool Johnson County dad shoes.
That's right.
I don't
That's
even
right.
think
These
they're
are
Johnson.
cool dad shoes.
Let me see it. Your computer is blocking.
Cool dad shoes.
See the back. It's business
But
in front,
see,
little party in back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Business up front, party in the back is exactly right.
Oh, I changed my opinion now on whatever's going on in the back there.
Yeah. Too much party?
Yeah, way too much party.
I get it.
Hey, they
That's
got
a-
all gray.
It's a little too eccentric for my
Lot
taste
of
on
different,
a shoe.
lot of different options. Almost too many,
Yeah.
some would say, after spending too long scrolling through the website.
Here's my
But then
taste in shoes.
These are on sale.
All right.
Yeah. So I mean, those are you
Yes.
got some tennies on. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's my taste in shoes,
I'm
right
just
there.
trying to let my feet breathe, and they feel great. Mick,
Monochromatic.
what's your second shot clock review?
You know what really grinds my gears?
What really grinds your gears, Mick Shaffer?
Back to school pictures on the first day.
Whoa!
What are we doing? What are we doing? First of all, I get it. It's the best. My kids are going to look all year long. The best, I don't know, jersey my son's going to wear. My daughter's actually going to brush her hair. I get it. But you're taking the picture on August 17th to represent the school year. We don't get the yearbook till July of next year. That looks nothing like my kid in that year. They look more like 4th graders than 5th graders. I got a 1 out of 10.
That's a great point.
Incredible.
It's not because you brought up the two sides of that.
Poor representation.
Most of the time, everybody's got their best clothes. You got a haircut, and it's all like everybody's got the fresh haircut and clothes. So you get them all at the same time, as opposed to like middle November. It's like, oh shoot, today's pictures. Oh, we forgot to get it. Well, it's fine. He's in 5th grade. Nobody's gonna remember this. Okay, it's not a big deal. All right. So
close us out, Jason.
There are no spoiler alerts in this, so if you're listening here, don't worry, I'm not going to give spoiler alerts. I'm going to review Better Call Saul. So I think it was pretty impressive that they were able to come up with 2 separate series in the same universe
that covered different ground and different characters. It was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if they can have another series in the same universe because it was so entertaining and those guys are so good. The entire series was awesome, but I was a little underwhelmed with the finale.
Wow.
5 of 10.
Wow. The whole series you're giving a 5 out of 10?
No, the series is like a 9.5 out of 10.
All right.
Like Ozark.
I went back to the monitor on this one. This is a ref. Ref stopped the play to go.
We're good.
Yeah.
But just as real quick, like I've been on the opposite side of these things now twice. Ozark's series finale, I liked it, but everybody hated it. I liked it. This one, everybody, what a great finale for Better Call Saul, and I'm like,
okay,
that was fun.
It's hard. I've tried to get into Better Call Saul twice, like watched 5-6 episodes.
I love it.
I can't do it.
I loved it.
And I love Breaking Bad's my number one.
Yeah.
Number one. Top. It must get better, or I'm just missing something.
It gets so good. But it's just amazing that obviously Saul and Breaking Bad, those characters, Mike, those, but it's just completely different shows, and it's brilliant. It's really well done. So like the show is awesome. Finale, and I get the meanings and everything behind it, and people wrote about it. I was like, well, this is why this, and I get it. It's totally understandable, but.
You know what was a 10 out of 10? Shot clock reviews. We did it, everybody. That felt like the bit as was sort of designed to be executed.
I give it a 3.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Mick, you're a big Diamondbacks fan. It was the Pirates that they were facing off against last night.
I love D-bags, not D-backs.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I like your game, Josh.
Thank you.
His
Appreciate
game?
I don't know. I like your exercise.
Thanks, man. It feels like a game. Feels like an exercise.
What is it?
Shot clock. Shot clock reviews. That's what you're talking about, right?
I burned like 500 calories.
Yeah.
It's an exercise.
It is, absolutely.
I had no idea what you were alluding to. Like
we just did.
I mean, right. Well, we just did a lot in the break. We talked about the Ozark finale. We talked about Better Call Saul. We talked about
Lots of finales.
Sopranos,
Mad Men.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of them.
I left the studio. Not a single one of those have I seen. And I do like TV.
I don't think
talk
you do.
about the finale of The Good Place.
How much time do we have?
Stranger Things.
Good idea. Each week we give him a movie to watch.
This is already on a sheet.
Okay,
Josh's
good.
book report.
I
think it's Josh's movie book report
Yes.
is on a sheet.
Great.
I love it.
And
Shot clock reviews have now become that.
We just don't have time for it all.
Just give me
We can't
permission.
fit it in. It's only 5 days.
Give me
Like
permission
20
to
hours.
stop watching the Royals at least one night a week, and then I'll watch a movie in their place.
Here's the deal.
I would much rather watch the movie.
I'll give you 4 possessions to do the movie review. 4
the
straight
chains moving.
possessions.
Whole quarter.
And I'll give Beards a quarter too. How about that?
It'll be like Andy Reid. I'll get 10 seconds.
Yeah. You don't know what that reference is.
Oh.
God, you suck.
Sports Radio 810